Yes. Still makan. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys are still awake after makan. Just wanted to get your feel about your class yesterday and today. Is it difficult? Okay, you're following? How is the taste like?
Interesting.
Interesting. Something you never thought you will be doing, but I think once you become an entrepreneur, you have to do this like almost every day. So it's a good start. I don't know if Hidayat shared why we came up with Rise Go. As you know, Hidayat dengan saya, we are venture capitalists, we are investor. So when we invest, we of course kena tengok business plan, entrepreneurs like yourself. But what we felt was when we asked them further question, kenapa you ada number macam ni? Kenapa you buat sales strategy macam ni? Kenapa you punya cash flow macam ni? Dia tak tahu nak answer. So because you never do it step by step. So what we are trying to do yesterday and today is to help you distill yang macam apa kata, your big strategy into smaller parts that yang boleh execute. So you can measure. Kalau you start progress. But most importantly, doing all this to prepare you for the big day when business you dah maybe mature enough that you want to raise money or you want to go to the bank to ask for loans and all this. Because I think now bank, dia tak akan just tengok your audited report. Especially now, ada ESG semua tu, dia nak finance kalau those yang dalam green tech. So let's say for yourself, you know what, I would see for this public accreditation, and you're going to say that you help them save so much. So they need data. So what we are trying to say is data ni penting. Tapi data ni bukan kita plug from sky lah. Like always people say, oh, the market is $1 billion market. I dapat 1% cukup dah. Tapi ada 1,000 other entrepreneurs yang cakap macam tu. So, we need to know your 1% macam mana you dapat. But most of the time, orang kata, oh, I do a lot of things. But I always tell them, not many people tell me that 1% I nak take from my competitor. Because most of the time, you akan buat produk yang lebih kurang sama dengan your competitor, because unless you are a new invention. But to take from the competitor yang dah guna produk tu or dah familiar dengan service tu is easier than to educate someone. Oh, you kena guna produk tu. So today I'm going to maybe just share with you what you need to do when you dah complete survey macam ni, when you prepare your deck. What should you be looking at? Or what investors like me will be tengok your 10 slide, what are we looking for? We will not look for essays. So we will look for facts. We will look for you fit kita punya investment philosophy tau. Macam Ficus, kalau you nak minta investment dari Ficus, you kena tahu Ficus ni, kita invest teknologi saja. Tapi kita suka education, kita suka green tech. We unfortunately don't have the mandate. Mandate tu datang dari investor kita lah, macam Basket now in Jalawang. We don't invest in food, for example. So kalau you pitch to kita orang, memang buang masa. So when you look for your investor, you kena cari investor yang align dengan you punya product or you punya market, right? So kita akan tengok what does it mean by investor readiness. Kita akan bincang what is the fundraising strategy, because fundraising duit boleh dapat dari banyak tempat. Minta dari husband, minta dari parents, minta now banyak ECF funding, venture capitalists dari bank pun. And then how do you pitch for capital? Because pitching tu, kalau you pitch dengan saya, you pitch dengan Atlan, you pitch dengan Hidayat, tak sama. Although if you are in the same company, maybe Hidayat lebih suka makan. Rina tu suka makan tapi suka benda yang maybe more sustainable, more organic ke. So the investor punya profile is important because at the end of the day is human to human kan. So if you if you go and meet someone new, you cakap benda yang kalau tak interested, you lost dia punya attention span. So the first 5 minutes of your pitching is very important. So yang most of the time paling salah itu, dia punya pitch, tapi dia baca dari apa tu? Dia punya deck. So if you pitch to me, I also can read. But if you read to me, then I will just be following you like macam budak sekolah. So you can put the text, tapi you can explain dengan your enthusiasm because that's your business, right? So I have about 40 slides. So, but no homework. I'm not like that. But you are, because whatever I've learned and that is asking you to do, eventually is preparing you for the pitch. Now you have a business plan because you want to grow your business and eventually you want to raise funds. Eventually you have to give back. You cannot be from your own pocket unless your dad or family is orang kaya. Tapi orang kaya pun other people's money. Takkan guna money sendiri, right? Okay, so I broke it down to easy to understand. So I will use a lot of examples. Apa tu investor mindset dengan fundraising reality? Semua orang kata nak raise money, tapi everybody chasing for that $1 in my pocket. So as a VC, every year kita tengok about 300 different companies. Kenapa I nak pilih you or you? So you need to know how to position yourself. How do you cut the queue? Kalau you kena Adlan, you thought Adlan kenal Hidayat, then you should go to Adlan and say, can I get an appointment to see Hidayat? Instead of you tulis email cold call to Akila, then you will be in the queue lah, right? So what investment readiness really means, so whatever you're doing now, you akan ada report macam ni kan later. I don't know, you haven't gotten your report yet, so you cannot move. So it will tell you how are you performing. Because this kind of thing mungkin ada dalam mindset the founder, but you may not be able to translate everything to your team. Because eventually you kena strategy you kena beritahu your teams lah. If not, how do they follow kan? And then the landscape in Malaysia and beyond, fundraising in Malaysia. So kita takkan bincang lah nak jadi Silicon Valley punya unicorn. I always say you should leverage on you punya home ground. So if your product, unless you from day one you kata, oh, I am not targeting Malaysia punya market, I saja nak export. So it's different strategy. But if you're targeting this market, janganlah spread your wings too thin. Jangan nak pergi Paris, buat trade show ke apa tu. Good if you have order, but you punya production boleh dah cater. Because I used to be on the market board. A lot of kita punya entrepreneurs say, because market give market development grant, free saja lah pergi. It's good that you go if you have a clear mindset. Tapi you kena pergi sana, you set up your kedai, waiting for people to buy is a bit susah. Many years ago I used to do that. I thought I dapat name card banyak tu, tapi cold call nothing happened. So usually when we go there, kalau you pergi ada chance to be, you already set up the meeting before you go there. Jangan go there and tunggu. Yeah, so you have to set up meeting. You just be there so that whoever that you set up meeting, dia boleh datang jumpa saja. Tapi kalau kita pergi tunggu it's like winning lottery lah, susah. So you need to know the fundraising landscape, as in who are investing, siapa yang ada duit. Kalau Fiker sekarang kita punya fund dah almost habis dah duit kita. So there's no point pitching to us until we start a new fund. So fund yang baru, you boleh try. If not, then you kata, oh, I tak dapat, Fikers tak mau invest. It's not that we tak ada, because we have limited funds saja. So you kena understand, VC tu, dia ada fund life. So every VC dia ada 7 to 10 years. Kalau orang you nampak social media kata, oh I start new fund, oh pergilah, you pergi pitch dengan dia. And it's very important, you don't pitch to someone when you really need money. Kalau bank dah tinggal RM10 baru pergi pitch, it's too late. Just share your business idea, your pitch to anyone, because they will give you feedback. Macam if you buat makanan, you just let people taste, because you may not know kan. You bagi orang tuas cake, rasa dia tak sama. You bagi, kids, they may feel differently. So always do that. Always share your business plan. Then on part 4, what investors actually evaluate in the first few minutes. So you ada dapat report macam ni, you need to decide on your first 2 pages, what are you going to write? Because if I see 300 companies 1 tahun, I tak ada, I pun boring lah nak baca banyak. So the first few slides is memang important. Kalau you put, why is your food so good? What is the unique selling proposition? But the best is customer review, for example. Kalau you buy food, we are the most reviewed seaweed chips in the last whatever. That is real data and is what customers say, bukan you yang cakap, right? Or we are healthy. This one proves that you will not increase your cholesterol, whatever it is. It must be unique enough for me to give me interest. So I am another seaweed girl, I am another chocolate. Then I will start asking, kenapa chocolate you lebih baik daripada chocolate ni? So you don't give the investor a reason to ask you question. Kalau I ask, you kena buat defensive stuff. You kena defense yourself. So it becomes like you pun rasa, why is this investor so bad? Keep asking me the question. So most of the time, when we ask this kind of question, the founder, usually the ladies, they become panic. And then, they say, why are you trying to hentam my business? It's not to hentam, but to ask, the why, so that you can explain to it. And then I like to touch on the problem. Funding, investors don't fund you because I like you. Investors don't fund you because, you're doing something great for the economy. That is good to hear that. We fund you because you're solving a real problem, or you create a niche market. Right? So why? Because consumer is like, why should consumer buy your product? Why should they use your product? You should always ask yourself this: kenapa kita nak beli ini? Is it good to have? Is it must have? Or is it something when I dapat bonus I beli saja? Right? And then if those who are doing technology, memang dengar lah blockchain, AI semua tu. If you say my company is powered by AI, everybody will say that. So what exactly is the AI that you're using? Kalau you buat business plan, guna ChatGPT ke, Copilot ke, Grok, is it powered by AI? Okay. So we try to not guna buzzword tu terlalu banyak, just in case people ask, then you answer. Right? But that's for people who use technology. But even food, there's food tech, right? So I see here you have a registered, or trademark, whatever. You should be able to explain why you do that, right? And then the most important thing, yang you key in the numbers semua tu, yang Hidayat paksa tu, the traction, the validation, and the growth. Dia memang paksa. So I'm the good.
Nama secampur.
Siapa?
Alexa.
Oh, Alexa, dia tipu. So market side. Kenapa Alexa ni? It's the mic. Dia dah lebat. Ada apa?
Dia nak investment.
Dia pula dengar. Dia spy dia. Okay. Tidak. Country habis.
100%.
Oh.
Ada tipu tak?
And then, of course, market size and execution. Like I mentioned, you need to know your market size. Is it the right market? So I will share with you what is the funding punya landscape sekarang. Kalau VC dengan accelerator, you know, what is the flavor of the month or the year for Malaysia? You will see mostly AI and technology market. It's a bit sad that you know, most investors or most VCs, they like technology. I really hope more investors will look at agri, will look at social impact, will look at food, because I think food security is important. I understand there's a husband and wife team kan? Banyak. 1, 2, bukan. Good friends aja. 2, okay? It's good that husband and wife can work together. But I always ask them, you see each other 24 hours a day, okay lah. You'll be working and then you go back. And the yang paling busy, I mean, this is a very hard question to ask. When everything is okay, the business go well. So I personally got invest in dua company around by boyfriend girlfriend and jadi satu, but they eventually split. Okay, I mean that's true. We don't want that to happen, but you have to know that this is also your basic that you built. Personal, you know, personal development. Make sure it doesn't affect life. So even husband and wife, you kena ada shareholder agreement. You kena ada, you know, what if things happen, you know, the business should go on because it's something you do together. Even personally, you know, you cannot stand each other, but this should go on. If kalau saya kerja, you know, split apart also. But most importantly, I think the founder, someone has to lead, because you know the Chinese say the mountain cannot have 2 lions, 2 tigers. So someone, you should know your weakness and your strength. So if you're good at managing money, you know, be the CFO. But usually founder yang most of the company just because the founder dia nak buat semua tu. Then it become, when it's small it's okay, but when it becomes big, then you jadi bottleneck. Because everything has to, you can approve. So when you grow a team, you need to delegate, right? And then finally, if you manage to raise money or someone willing to give you money, you need to understand what is the terms. You know, because even bank kena bagi term, kena bayar balik per month. But when people invest in equity, kalau I bagi 200,000 as an investor, apa yang I akan ambil? Yes, weakness and opposite. Apa dia? Weakness and opposite. Weakness and strength. So you should know. I think it's the hardest question to know what is your weakness and what is your strength. But I always tell myself, takkan nak jadi perfect, because there's no perfect. Kalau I know my weakness, I have 2 choices, because everybody ada 24 hours. Do I work on my weakness or I enhance my strength? Because your strength is here, your weakness is here. Kalau I spend time to make sure I naikkan my weakness, I don't have time to enhance my strength. Okay. So which one? You should be known for one thing or 2 things. You tak mahu I generalist or jack of all trades lah. I semua boleh buat. Tapi what are you good at? Not very sure. So you should decide that lah. For me, I prefer to work on my strength. My weakness, I admit I'm weak on this, you know. But if I also work on my weakness, mana lah ada masa to work on my strength. So my strength would be like this. Then semua sama saja, I become a perfect human, which is what's your unique proposition for yourself, right? So the term sheet tu is the first thing. So you dapat term sheet, janganlah happy sangat because the term sheet is non-binding. Dia saja nak kata, I intend to invest in your company subject to due diligence. Apa dia buat due diligence? Dia tengok your financial statement, dia tengok your business plan. That's why this is good, because when they tengok your business plan, dia akan tanya, what's your strategy? What's your marketing strategy? What's your cash flow strategy? What's your team strategy? What's your extension strategy? So this will give you a fundamental understanding of what you should be asking. And valuation. Valuation, I would say, is an art and science. A lot of times you tengok unicorn tu, dia tak make profit lagi, but they promise to make profit in future lepas dapat duit. It's like, I promise to catch a big garupa in the sea, but first you kena bayar, can you give me money to buy the bait? What kind of bait? Takkan nak kena ikan bilis, nak catch tuna, kena beli rod yang besar. The bait has to be another big fish, kan? So this is, how you negotiate with your investors. Valuation too is, I would say, is science based on your cash flow, your profits. Especially when you ada profit, most of the investors akan look at your profit and give you like 10x of your profit. But if you are a technology company, normally they will evaluate based on the potential. Like potentially, like Facebook, when they raise money, they become unicorn. This other pun profitable. It's only recently. And even Grab is only recently become profitable. The last 10 years, is promised to become profitable, right? And then the risk of fundraising and the common traps that you should watch out, because not every investor is an angel. Even bank, kalau tak bayar balik, they will take over your house or your business or whatever, right? So some investors ada niat yang not so good, or they will make your life a little bit harder. They'll pressure you. One thing for sure, when they take money, they will ask you for reporting. So you can what report macam ni, because the investor need to report to our investors as well, right? And then finally, how you pitch it, and if we have time, we will do some role play. Okay. So this one, just remember, fundraising is a structured sales and decision process. Structured sales means whatever you're doing now is a very structured thing. Bukan saja I bangun, I kata nak I nak buat pitching, I nak pitch and raise fund. So it's a process, And then the brutal truth, capital as an investment is sold, not given. So you nak money from me, you have to sell your story. Kalau I grant is different lah. Grant is because, grant also you can meet the criteria. But when you take money from an individual, you have to tell the story. Not read the slide, but tell it in your own the story. Yang penting. And investors like myself, VCs or Hidayat, we are paid to say no. Yes.
To explain story pada investors. So apa paling minimal yang kita nak kena explain pada investor supaya dia listen. Maksudnya ada sampai bila kita rumuskan explain dan panjang, so tulis kan. Kadang ada yang tak dengar sebab terlalu panjang kita punya story. Tapi bila kata tadi explain story pada SC, so apa point-point yang selalu investors suka.
Okay, it depends on your, for example, industry juga. For example, but have you heard of elevator pitch? Elevator, like this. If you cannot tell, in the lift right to 20th floor about what you're doing, then you don't know what you're doing. So that elevator pitch is always when kita pergi competition lah, hackathon tu. The first 5, because you ada 5 minutes to pitch saja, usually. So in that 5 minutes, you cannot explain semua. So most of the time, what are you solving? Or what product are you bringing to the market yang tak ada orang rasa? So, or if you're doing, let's say your chocolates, why is this so different from the normal cookies? Are you trying to address a market where orang yang makan cookies, that shows, the traditional cookies is, giving a lot of potential diabetes problem, whereas your cookies are the cereal, help with digestion, So it must be something, a pain point that you are trying to address. And bukan like, oh, my cookies is sedap and murah. This is not a pitch, right? So you must really know what is so different with cookies, and why did you do it? Because you couldn't find a cookies that that feels like it's healthy and I can eat it non-stop and don't feel guilty because things like this. It must be unique to you lah. Then I was like, oh, okay, there's something different. So the first few things is important that, or for example, you can say that this is a new technology that you do the packaging, for example. Instead of the normal cookies, you can last for 1 year. This one can last and still keep the taste, right? So it is what you have to practice and find the why. If you can find the why, then you can craft that problem statement, the statement, the pitch, right? It's not a one-day thing. So like company, kita ada mission, vision kan. You tengok even big companies, their mission and vision change over time. But the mission and vision captures what you want to do at this point of time. So that's why in the business plan, kita ada short-term business plan, kita ada long-term business plan, right? So the reality for today, if you are in Malaysia, this is Malaysia, the 2018 to 2020, the fundraising rounds from seed to Series A was about 31%, but last year it dropped. And then now, the investors are expecting the companies to grow 400 to 600%. So when investors put in money, kita tak akan say, oh, you raised 1 million ringgit. In 5 years, you are going to return 2 million ringgit. That is too slow for us to wait 5 years to get. That's VC, right? So you have to understand who you are reaching. Kalau you pergi, satu orang baik panggil angel investor that really want to help you, that's okay. Because I really want to support you. I don't have a timeline. But kalau VC, memang the expectation is very high. The return is very high. Kalau I bagi RM1, in 5 years, you must return $10 minimum. Right? And then the funding concentration, later I'll show you the chart, is heavily skewed towards AI for now. Semua orang, is very gullible on AI. But the hard truth, although I'm a VC, usually people say, oh, I'm a partner, I try to support you and all this. But in reality, when we invest as a VC, we already calculated kalau 10 company yang kita invest, only 1 or 2 will make it. Then 1 or 2 will pay for everything that make it. So we are looking for a lottery, right? So this is a reality, it's a hard truth, but this is something you need to keep in mind when you pitch to a VC and VC say, oh no, we're not interested. It's not because your company is that bagus. Sometimes you don't fit into what they're looking for. Like Ficus, okay? So that you can see. Ficus, we invest in technology company. We invest in seed stage. Seed stage maknanya ada cash flow dah ada orang beli punya produk, even tak banyak. You already have a service or a product that you boleh jual. And you need more capital to expand. To grow your team, to do more development. That's a seed stage. And normally, Ficus investment is between 2 to 5 million ringgit. And we will expect to take maybe 5% to 10% of your company kalau kita bagi that 2 to 5 million ringgit. But in 5 years, we need you, or we need the company to return the 2 million, hopefully, 5 times, 10 times. The reason why a lot of VC jadi kaya is because like Brad, like the other unicorns, they return more than 100 times. But if you think of, for example, Startup 500, they are the biggest investor because it's US and others, right? Most of the companies don't make it. You only need 1 or 2 that you cover the cost, right? So securing a capital is very critical. Understand the nuances, so that you can raise in a more effective way is very important. And who do you raise from? Yang paling easy is angel investors. Angel investors, and then I think you're familiar with angel investors in Malaysia and then Malaysia Business Angel Network. So this is a group of angel investors yang you will approach. So they are individual like me. Kalau I suka your chocolate, I will invest. I don't have to go through a very formal process, right? And then you are the equity crowdfunding. You're familiar, kan? Equity crowdfunding. And then venture capital, we don't have many in Malaysia, maybe 20, 30 yang active. But you can see from the SC list. And then private equity, also a few, like private equity invest in Mr. DIY, right? They usually invest and they take management control. Lepas tu, IPO. Right? But venture capital, kita tak akan pergi kacau you and say, I'm going to your company, and yeah, we don't do that, right? So later part, we will look into each of these investor punya mindset, so that when you talk to them at different stages of your fundraising, you know how to pitch. Kalau you jumpa angel investors, what are you supposed to talk to them?
Sorry for the question. With the current economic situation, is the he told us that Puka, right? Then the economic situation and the uncertainties. What about VC? Are you still willing to take the risk in order to fund?
We still do take the risk, especially if you already raised the fund. Your mandate is to disburse the funds, right? But VC, when we say we launch a 100 million fund, for example, the money is not in the VC's bank account. The money is from the investors. That can be our institutional investors, macam Jelawa, Billionaire Cap, or individuals. So when, let's say I want to invest in your company and I invest 5 million, only at that time, then I will call the capital from the investors, right? And of course, money has a trail, right? It has to come from somewhere. Kalau if we take from government, if the government has no more money, it's very hard also, right? If I take from businessmen, if they have a money and they have a business, number 1 priority is to save my own business then. If I ada spare, baru I invest, right? Because my business, if economy is down, my business also akan down juga kan. So I pernah jumpa satu yang buat poultry, chicken, eggs. They're the biggest. When we ask them to invest, they're like, no, I prefer to put it in my own business instead of investing in new startup, new companies. So that is the mindset of most investors, right? So I think, it's important that when you are ready to pitch, right? And I think, what we have here in this actually help you. It won't be doing all the job for you, but at least you know when people ask, is your team ready? Is your marketing strategy ready? Is your logistics ready? Is your operation ready? I think sometimes there is a market, there's a demand, but your operation is not ready. Your supply chain is not ready. So you're gonna say no to the customers. This is not something you want to do as well, right? And then how do you maintain kalau you buat product makanan? How do you maintain the cost, the taste? This is something very important, right? And the supply chain. I know cacao price or cocoa, we call it, right? Is fluctuating because I used to invest in chocolate. They were Malaysian startup. We were doing so well. COVID hit. Actually, we thought they were going to go die, but COVID hit lagi better because everybody just buy. But something happened. The wife, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer and passed on, and then the husband decided that, what was the inspiration?
Yeah, so as angel investors, for the last couple of years, I tasted a lot of chocolates, but it set up to, they were doing about 5 million ringgit revenue. But one of the mistakes was expanding too fast and, some inventory control that they did not take it so seriously. So they end up with a lot of too many inventories that caused the business to sort of collapse. So I hope with whatever you're doing by Atlan and this report that you get will help you actually craft your pitch deck. Any of you already have a pitch deck? Other pitch deck. Okay, maybe you can share what is included in your pitch deck. What do you tell the investors?
Use that with the problem, solution, and then our direction, our USP, comparing the competitors, the market size, then what are we looking for?
Do you actually also say, like for example, this is a corporate deck you present to your customers?
For investors and customers,
so for customers, I think more about solving their pain point, right? And then for investors, is why should they support you, because the industry is doing that, right? So I think it's important to also know that while you're raising your fundraising, are you fishing in a pond where there's no fish? Right. So this is actually a public information. I do not know if you guys actually do research. It's important to do research, not just about your own company. It's about your competitors. It's about the market. The macro outlook actually affects what is happening. So VC, we have a term called dry power, meaning VCs like us cannot raise money from our investors. If we cannot raise money, we have no money to invest. And why? Because all our investors are public listed companies or they are big billionaires. As you know, rich people, when the market goes up, their asset doubles. And Elon Musk can lose half of it in one day, right? So it is a supply chain also for money. So you need to know where the money comes from, where the money flows to. So this one is Southeast Asia for tech companies. So 2 billion was funded. There are 105 rounds. Series A is actually the most difficult. In Malaysia, usually when Series A becomes Malaysia, you raise between 10 million. You usually go to Singapore because not many VCs here can afford that. But how many companies funded the first time? Only 35 out of Southeast Asia. Yeah, 2025. I only take the quarter 2025. But if you look at the top funding rounds, they're big amount, but it's all in technology companies. I do not see any food traditional business that can actually take. Maybe Zeus Coffee. Zeus Coffee is because of the distribution. They are like Mr. DIY or Speedmart. But Speedmart, is one of the biggest IPO. That's because they have like 1,000 locations and they control the supply chain. But the top cities for funding is Singapore. That's why Malaysian companies, after you go for a short while, you have this dedication from the Singapore VC to ask you to move everything to Singapore. So I used to run before Bikers and other funds in Singapore, and at that time, we like to come to Malaysia and get advantages because it's for entrepreneurs. You go where the ambience is most friendly. Of course, I'm still Malaysian, although I'm Singapore PR. I still have this nationalistic, but that is good to have when your company needs money and you cannot find it in Malaysia. What do? You have to go to whatever place that gives you that resources, that benefit, and that support. right? And you can still, be a Malaysian company. You just have to like really set up a subsidiary in Singapore. That's what Singapore government needs, right? So Singapore is the top. Unfortunately, Kuala Lumpur is top 5. So it's important that you look at this and see where you fit. And I think the dream of unicorn is in everybody's mind, but as the data shows, banyak yang dah mati. Even we have a website to, to salute those who rest in peace. I forgot the website name, but all the startup yang dah mati is in that website. So it's like an online obituary. But it's good to go and see why they die. So you don't repeat it. It's important because even for venture capitalists, we like to also invest in company or founders yang fail. You fail one time, you fail second time, you fail third time. Means what? Somebody is paying the tuition fees. You get smarter by the time you come to me. That's why you see a lot of founders, they start company, after they start again. So they call them serial entrepreneur. But I think it's a bit of a buzzword, Serial is like serial murderer, bukan orang yang try to murder 10 people tapi tak succeed, right? We don't call them serial murderer, kan? Orang serial murderer means they already killed someone, but serial entrepreneur, kalau you start business, you start tutup. I think it's a bit of a gray area. You're not successful for business, tapi you can buat that, right? This is important thing for Malaysia. HRDC is not that active in Malaysia, but if you ever want to raise Global 500 Antler, is the most common in Malaysia. Startup 500. Hire founders only in Philippines and Japan. But Y Combinator is the accelerator that everybody dreams to go. It's very tough, but once you go there, you think your future is almost, quite smooth. So, but no one trying, because at least the worst thing you get is you're gonna reject the deal. But I always say the more you try, the better. And most importantly, kalau you pitch in competition, the last thing that people don't ask me when I say I'm not going to invest, you should ask them, why not? Why not? They will tell you, like me, I'll tell you, oh, it's because, you should always ask them, why not? Jangan, just go back and say, so this one I will ask Akila to share, so you can look at it. But it's important that you keep track of this, so that you know if you fit, right? And most important is you look at their portfolio. If you look at their portfolio, even if you don't get an investment, you can tell 500, hey, I know you invested in company ABC. I think my product, my solution works well with that. Most VCs are not, bad people. We will say, oh, sure, maybe you can pitch to my investing company. If my investing company use your product or your service or buy your product, that is a valid due diligence for me as well. So it doesn't mean no is no, but they don't invest in you, but you can look at them. I think, let's say you're an HR solution. I think my HR solution can help your startup save 50% of the cost of medical benefit, for example. If you really can save, then they will show you, open their eyes. So when you talk to the VC, it's not just asking about money. You should ask them for introduction. You should ask them for advice. And if they say no, ask them why. Kenapa tak invest? Kalau dia bagi tahu reason, then kita boleh balik and kita boleh buat. Reiteration. Then at least you know apa get the effect. Right? SYSD is actually good for you because they have mobility and IoT Union Fund. So these big VCs, they are the sub-fund. Yang ada mobility, ada food tech. Some have got a separate fund that only food tech. Some are the education tech, right? So the big ones, they have a different focus. So that one is accelerators and incubators. Malaysia one are accelerator and incubator. Any of you have been to any accelerator? Which one? Sadek, yes. Fairview. Oh, Merathi. So, in your opinion, right? Once you finish the program, does it help in your? It gives you a lot more insights in how you get things, right? So it's important to try to attend. You know, if you can get in once or twice, okay, because different accelerators and different incubators, they focus on different things. But most importantly, is their network. Because it is the incubators and the accelerators punya KPI to help you connect to their network. Like Meranti is very focused on tech, one of our investing companies. But some incubators and accelerators, I know Antler, you can buy out. And you can buy out to attend, and it doesn't mean that they will invest in you. So it depends. It's like you need to buy out to go to school. Hopefully you can graduate, but even if you graduate, it's not a guarantee that you invest. So you have to spend first. This is VCs. That is most active in Southeast Asia region. Their investment size are big, so when you do, I would advise you that you are ready to raise, make a list of the potential investors and track them, and match it to your appetite. You now raise 1 million, you now raise 5 million. Which one should I be teaching? Because in LinkedIn, banyak orang send me, can you invest in me? In that one sentence, I was like, I don't know what to do. So don't send that kind of cold email, because people will think that, oh, you just met emailing people. And in VC, in Southeast Asia, we have a chat group called Southeast Asia VCs. All the funders are here. And the news just goes up. A company ABC ni dia spam orang, then it doesn't do. So be really research on the person, the company, set a very genuine email. Right? Don't spam around because it goes around the world. Right? And you know how confident are you if you just spam and somebody will be so naive to say, yeah, I think I want the chance is zero, almost zero. So, hire more work on smartly habits. Right? This is the seed one, which is more, I think, to you guys. Each venture is one of the biggest, and they are actually really active here. If you look at their investments, this venture has 463. The latest is Rina. I think they were also in Indonesia, all the Indonesian companies. So this one may not look like it's important for you right now, but to be able to understand all this and how they think it, the way they invest, is important for your fund. And then the top funding rounds. You look at the numbers. Why did this guy get 640 million funding? It must be worth billion. So you should study them if you can. Usually in the social media, they will have people who go and dissect why they get this amount. So if one day you think you can get this, You should study how they get it. What is the pathway? Is it 3 years? Is it 30 years? Because now a lot of companies get funding very easily compared to olden days. Okay, I think the one that I like is Air Wallet. Air Wallet, it was also invested by a very strategic company called Salesforce. Salesforce is a big MNC. They invest, as what we later will discuss, corporate investors. Right? And then this is the top funding round. So if let's say, for example, you plan you nak pergi digital age to raise again. You just know that they deploy 640 million. But digital age only manage $1 billion. So they're left with how much? And then maybe they have other investments, right? So would you still go and pitch for them because they have no money? These are simple logics. When you go and ask for investment, you should know how much the VC is managing it, when did the fund start, and when are they getting. Kalau 5 years sekarang kita busy nak exit kita punya company. Anything that we see now is maybe for the next one. We won't invest because we already invested in that companies. Sekarang kita nak help company kita untuk grow, untuk take the next round of funding, right? And then the business model. Of course, now with the growth of social media and AI, data centers is the darling. Online business payment, with everything digital, payment is the big thing to go, right? Like Jensen Fong said, AI is the 5-layer cake. So which of the layer are you in? So that you can ride the waves. So for example, these are technology, but I see whether I can find, because I know there's a food manufacturers and here, so I'll try to find if there is any that I can share with you. But these are the top business models that people are funding. So if you now start something, are you in that, the stage path or not? Whether you are going in the opposite direction, they will not be interested. So the top, for example, food. What is the top food trend now? Is it sustainable? Is it clean? Is it what is the top food trend for let's say cookies, chocolates? What is the food trend now? Is it packaging? Is it ingredient? Packaging, sustainable packaging, right? So things like this is important, right? You're going in the right trend. But now the thing is that sustainable packaging, packaging you is like technology armor. You will definitely not be in the race, right? This is the unicorn trend for 2025. Unfortunately, with all the hypes, we only have one unicorn. Global tech, we have 35, this was 8. But important to note, the average years from Series A to unicorn is about 6 years now. So from masa dia start to dapat 1 billion valuation is only 6 years. And this is all because of technology. So can you imagine 6 years your business akan jadi? Just now Hidayat suruh buat projection kan? More number, what's the number? In 3 years, what is your projection? Revenue? Berapa? Berapa juta? In 3 years?
Revenue growth. 40%.
40%. From what? Sekarang berapa? Sekarang agak
150.
To 40% increase in 3 years.
1 year. 1 year.
2 years.
So remember, I said DC will expect at least 5 times multiples in that few years. So if you are pitching, you're pitching. I only have one doctor. Minimum, I will bet if everything goes alright, due diligence semua orang baik, I will bet the company that promise or aggressive enough to tell me my $1 can be $10. Bukan $1 can be $3. Right? If everything, of course, like that person $1 can be $10, but we see a lot of hype lah, product of course that is also part of the due diligence. But if everything sama-sama, we go back on those aggressive ones. Because remember, I was looking for the lottery tickets, right? Of course, every entrepreneur, when they raise capital or when they start a business, what is your exit plan? You nak pass on to your children, you nak jadi kaya, you nak jual, you nak IPO, you nak cash out, right? But it doesn't mean that you nak jual, ada orang yang nak beli. It doesn't mean that you want to raise, people are willing to invest. So you need to also notice, who are the ones that exited. So for venture capitalists like us, the more exit we do, the better our reputation is. So we can raise more funds. But for example, Silicon Valley, if let's say I'm a company and I exited this year, that's what PayPal, Elon Musk did, right? When he exited PayPal, they invest. So in Malaysia, you should be also looking at siapa entrepreneur yang dah exit or public listed company punya tauke ke bosses exit or dia punya share price 90. So they have money to invest. You don't go to anyone and just ask for investment. The best is those who have exited, they have extra cash and they have gone through the process like you, right? So Silicon Valley is very good because we have a lot of technology entrepreneurs yang dah exit, dia nak reinvest. Tapi in Malaysia, kita ni a bit, I would say, little bit selfish sebab they I have money, I nak invest and own. That's why we don't have too many angel investors. Sebab if let's say, for example, you sold your company for 10 million cash, what are you going to do? Lepas tu, will you invest in another young startup like you once upon a time? It could be your children, it could be your friends' children, right? So that's why for an ecosystem to thrive, kita kena ada banyak angel investor yang believe in the idea. Because it could be just a mutabak, but pilot saja tau for the kitchen. So someone tasted is good. Oh, I put 10,000, so you could got that shake up. But where is the angels that believe in the idea? Bukan ada business, register, ada lagi. But this is an idea. So next time, kalau you successful, think of paying forward because the young kids, will be like you trying to do the business plan, trying to raise. It could be really your children, right? Okay, so it's important. So the 5 minutes, if I look at your deck, I will be asking, okay, which vertical is the startup active in? So, food tech, fast moving consumer goods, right? And fast moving consumer goods ada cabang lagi tau. Are you snacks? Are you fall under snacks ke? Snacks. Tidbits and snacks, which you compete with chocolates and everything, right? Candies and all that, right? So this is the vertical that is active in. Then you should be able to tell me who else is active there. Your competitors matrix. Why are they competing with you? So kalau I makan, what's my Pringles? Pringles is the brand yang dah lama ada kan. What is, when I look at the rack, Pringles and this one, what will make the consumer take yours? not labels. Because it's a consumer decision on that shelf, right? So this kind of thing is important. If you can tell me what is it that fits, right? So if that vertical is snacks is like going with the trend, and it fits my investment criteria, yes, tick box check. So whenever you send a pitch deck, the VC will ask our analyst to look at your deck first, even before you get the chance to pitch the direct. We will say, are you in the same vertical? How much are you raising? If you send to fighters, knowing that fighters can only deploy 2 to 5 million, because I have raised 10 million, bye-bye. We don't have the money, we love you. Right? So no. Where is the startup located? What geographical market we target? Fighters, this is important to know. VC always have a mandate, and mandate includes tempat mana or country mana yang kita boleh invest. So fighters, because we raise money from the government, kita ada national building mandate. So we have to invest 50% companies in Malaysia. 50% of course Southeast Asia. So if you are in Malaysia and you plan to expand to Southeast Asia, you are a good beneficiary. But if you are a Malaysia company, but you don't plan to expand in Southeast Asia, it's also too small for us. We're looking for a company or product or service that can scale. Kalau you kata, oh I just my target customer is just your one. That is not what we wish to VC. That's really major investors. VC needs to see very stable. And how much traction it has. So, for example, I'll ask you, say you have a pilot project, in this year, how many more pilots do you think you will do? How many of these pilots will convert to a full contract? And your response, how much can you sell in year month 1? How do you double in month 2? Next year, how much will it double? And how are you going to do it? What kind of channels are you doing? Omni-channel, online sales, offsite sales? These are the things that the VC will do. So we will need to show, okay, a lot of people think traction is, oh, I dapat masuk berita harian, I dapat form under 30, semua tu. That's media content. It does not add to your valuation. Ada banyak orang dia buat, a lot of gambar, I think, ambil gambar dengan XYZ minister, it doesn't add. If you spend too much time in me, and you come back and see, does it add anything to my business? Did I get a customer? Did I get a reference? Or I just dapat gambar cantik? Unfortunately, that gambar cantik, if you do not capitalize on it, it won't help you. If you masuk berita, make sure this berita reach the VCs of the investors, all your partners. For example, if you masuk berita, someone interview you can send to the VCs or to the partners or to bank Islamic visualize they support you. So it is also like a report. Right? A good startup founder, they will just, you don't spend every day, what you have report. Strategically, every quarter, you should summarize your progress and send it to the potential investors. Even you don't need to raise yet, but you know someone, send it to them. Consistency is important. Right? And then how much money the founders, how much money is the most important. Because like I said, we have a mandate that we can only invest this much. And let's say you're raising 5 million, fighters can maybe lower. If you have other investors, that's what we call a strong market. But for those who invest, you can ada satu lead investor. The lead investor will dictate your valuation of your firms. So it doesn't mean that you evaluate. It's not necessary that you take you think, especially early stage, you now quick, I would say smart money. What it means by smart money? If Rina bagi 1 million and I just do nothing, Hidayah tu bagi 1 million, but Hidayah, you say, oh, you can sell and go coffee lah, you could be mana-mana, you open up his network. His 1 million cash is worth 3 million. So at this stage, when you need help, mentorship, networking, it's important that you make smart money. Unfortunately, bank is not smart money. Bank, you use it when you the right time, but because sometimes bank punya money it will be rate affordable compared to when you're not ready to give it. Because to give equity, you cannot tarik balik. Right? So types of funding, any of you already raised money? You got raised from angels or from NBC? Which BC? Hassan BC. So angel investors, you raise from angels, and then how many months or years before you raise them? Yeah. But the valuation? So the angel investors is still there or they exited? So I think angel investors for Malaysia, we have 2, Nexia and MN. They always have this MN at the pitch competition enters the Lions Den. So you can actually go and practice the pitch. Next year also, and they do start to angel investor class. But most of the serious angels, like myself, I don't register that. We have our own angel near Mafia Gate. But these angel investors is good because they encourage professionals. Like for example, your food. Imagine if there's a chef who invested in food. You can tell a chef one. You can famous, rich. So if they invest in you, not only that they will like give feedback, right? They have the salary receipt, but it comes in pros and cons. I think they overshine you with your product launch, right? So, but I would think that for physical products like food and all this, crowdfunding is a good thing. So previously, I invested in a crowdfunding that is Sweden, crowdfunded. I like it. There's these 2 supermarkets. There's only 2, but they want to open a 3rd one, and they went to crowdfunding. Funding is good to get money from retail investors, but more strategically, you want the retail investors to become your customers. So what they did was they maybe equity funding, let's say like you invest 2,000, but they give you a 20% discount cut for the next 2 years. So you will not akan balik in that place, right? So if you are a product, I would suggest that you do crowdfunding because more so is for marketing and advertisement. But if it is a technology company, very deep tech, don't go crowdfunding because the retail investors are faham. Yeah. So some of our university companies, they went, no, then you will, why? My technology is patented, so good, gonna change the world. Tapi in shocking, they raise banyak, lebih banyak daripada technology. It's because investors, because the retail investors, they don't understand technology so much. But if you are food, a product, in the garden, something tangible, easy to understand, to invest, and have the risk, okay. Especially if I invest, for example, you will have 5,000, invest 5,000, you will have 2,000 worth of food voucher. You have to be restaurant, you consume, and it's transferable. What is the mindset of the investor? And this is actual money that I can consume. So it's actually good for you if you ada your product and you guna crowdfunding untuk marketing, at the same time you dapat investment. And it's usually very small, and you don't have to deal with the headache yang investors, right? So I think I've already summarized. You need to actually, all in all, identify the target countries. But since you have already raised from VCs, maybe you can share how you target the angel investors. Is it by random or you not be
Hitting so many more.
how many walls?
Yeah, doing all this with the program, trying to exploit, expand, but not. So probably also I establish my network. People are a bit there. The moment I do it, then some people notice that we are trying to find it. We are looking. Probably we are approved by one perspective.
Because I think if you try to raise funds, you also you need 10 people, they do less, it's never more than 100. Kena pitch to more than 100, right? So I think it's important that we pick and choose because the time at 24 hours a day, we don't have so much time. You need to be smart. And you need to also, when you talk to that person, how do you break ice? You should research on that person. Because you can, so like meeting a stranger for the first time, you will lose that communication. So you listen at okay, when I meet the investors, these are the 3 things I want to talk about. Because apa you nak cakap nanti tuan kabut tak tahu apa nak cakap. You cannot just go there and say, I want you to do this. You must need something. Kalau family office, what is close to the heart of the family. So kita kena, the communication has to be strategic. Yeah. Nothing beats research. So if you know more about the person or the company, you can articulate it better, you can teach them better, right? So I've seen a lot of, they just go and pitch as if it's a troll. Because every time you pitch, you can go 2-3 hours. And then after hitting 100 over wall, you still don't know why they never invest. That's the worst thing you want to do. Every time you're gonna reject, you're gonna balik and return. Is it slide 3 yang dia rasa tak baik? Or is it slide 5 that they feel my team is not strong enough? Apa benda yang dia reject? Cannot be everything. There must be 1 or 2 things that tak fixed. So it's important that you reflect on that and balik update your plan. Because a pitch deck that you created last year is outdated next month. So I think ada orang guna pitch deck and they create like 2 years ago, they still pitch the same score. But that means you're not getting anything, not changing. Okay. And then how do you structure your pitch deck that includes a clear narrative? Tadi you tanyakan, what is an elevated pitch? How do you present your plan that actually ada selaras dengan your financial projection? It has to make sense. You cannot have a grand plan, but your financial projection only revenue 1 million. So when we look at the deck, we always scrutinize the numbers. The numbers has to make sense. And it's the numbers that tell the story. I think this one, like in 5 years, we evaluate the companies based on the 7 T's that we use. The traction, the trend, the team, right? The technology company, right? And then I think the third is important. The third maknanya apa yang you nak raise sama dengan whatever that we can afford to do. Kalau you nak raise 2 million tapi valuation you 50 million. Kalau bagi 2 million, I dapat 0 point berapa persen. It doesn't make sense. So that is most important.
What are the services?
Interaction, terms, team. I think in the 5 years in the future, I will try to share with you. So this is the appetite. When we raise angel investors, they have a very high risk appetite because they're still ideas. So usually angel investors akan lose money, but because they have enough money and they want to mentor, they want to leave a legacy, is personal interest. Is even if you meet someone and they like you on that spot, maybe they have the right plan. Because the only thing maybe you can ask the husband or the wife. There's no other people you can ask, right? For ECF, I think it's important because you can create a brand affinity, you democratize. You want ECF and at least 100, 200 investors that eventually can be your resellers, consumers. And a lot of family offices give punya anak ke cucu. What they are trying to do is because the father or mother don't give them so much money yet, they are benefiting from this system. Once they see your traction, they will bring this back to the family office. That is the reality of what happens. Right? So the family also say, oh, you pergi lah, you know how to invest through ECF. Kalau you spot good companies, baru I give you money to really invest. So a lot of my friends and anak get released. First venture capital, if you don't think you can return 10 to 100x, you're not attractive to the business. Right? Highly calculated because we invest in 10 companies in different sectors. So it's like top market. Some sectors will go up, some sectors will go down. But overall, 2 or 3 should make money, and the rest akan, rest in peace, akan handicap, whatever. But these 2 is the lottery effect. Okay. Private equity, if you jadi macam Mr. DIY and all this, they look at efficiency, they look at cash flow. They typically akan masuk the company, do financial engineering. It could be also, they masuk because they put a lot of money, they remove the CEO. So if you are a founder, he expects that one day you will do. Why not? You pay you up. The company is still yours, you're still a shareholder, you tak jadi CEO saja. Kenapa you nak buat? Nak kerja sampai 20 tahun? Unless you do marketing. So if you want to do that, some people don't want, they still want to continue, but once you take people's money, you have to. And now the emerging trend is actually CVC. CVC is corporate, like Intel Ventures, Microsoft Ventures, even Bill Gates under Breakthrough Energy, they are investing in clean energy. P&G, Nestle, they have corporate CVCs, which means they will invest in companies that is aligned with their portfolio. Instead of building their own brand, they can release it up. So if your chocolates and your cookies are so good, Nestle may just buy it, and they have more brands with them. So you should keep track of these few potential exits. If you're so attractive, then Nestle is very much like coffee market. So maybe you don't know, this one day will be so. Any companies that's big, all the big corporations now, okay, there are 2 things. They are so big, they also need to know what is happening on the ground because there are so many entrepreneurs like you that's creating new products. Kalau dia tak on the ground, sekali you jadi besar, they are like competing into the market, kan? So the 2 things that can happen. If they propose sedikit money and they ask that they look at your recipe, look at We call it buy to kill. They buy you, they will kill you because they know what you're doing. If you're going to sell to them, make sure it's a lot of money and get a good lawyer. Because especially in technology, right? They're so big a giant, you cannot compete with them. You ingat they see you, but no. Right? So it might be different ways. And then you also need to know when you take money, what is the process? The timeline. Like I said, angel investors, it could be informal, it could be easy. For venture capital, it's quite rigorous. Like Hidayat, maybe 6 months. He will ask you to the decimal point, everything. The ECF, I think here maybe about 2-3 months, the preparation, the pitch, and everything. But VC, normally we try to do it in 3 months because too long and the companies have to do it. Because you really need the money to do it. No, it's too long because your documentation is not complete. We need to ask you for data room. Okay, so what you're doing right now prepares you for data room because due diligence kan. Kalau I ask ABCD ni kan, kita ada memang the process is long. So all these things you're doing will give you, your framework to go about your data. Yeah. If you have everything, of course, it's easy. But if I have to ask, ini tak complete, ini tak ada, ini where you are from financial 3 years tak audit. So the timing can be varied, right? And this one is like important. If you are someone who don't want people to ask you, how is it going? How is it going? Like you have to report once you take money. Because for VCs, of course, angel investors is okay, no formality. VCs, we have to do reporting, we have to report to our investors. So quarterly reporting, you must be able to tell me, in the last 3 months, what have you done? So the reporting is put in the terms and conditions. Right? If you cannot, then you may not get very good review from us. And eventually, if you not raise like me, maybe no, because I don't know what's happening. Why should I invest more money? Right? So reporting is important. Of course, ECF, you're gonna report to the company like Atap Labs, and you tak payah report to individual investors because all the investors get dalam satu special purpose. But you're gonna report to Atap Labs, they will report to you. This is the difference kalau you pergi minta duit dari 100 orang investors, then you minta. Kalau 100 investors, if he has 100, he has to report to 100, and he will have 100 headaches, different headaches. The investors asking him for anything. Right? So that's a good thing. Kalau ECF, you deal with satu orang. But it boils down to still reporting. So there's no free lunch. You take money, and of course we talk about exit. Siapa nak exit and dia nak exit to bar? What about you? Exit nak apa? Pergi not pass to the children. Yourself? Continue because you continue your debt and the legacy debt. So still want to pass to the children. Yourself? Pass to the children. What do you think you want your company? For investors, of course, return the investment, right? So these are the preferred exit for different. So angel investors, like some of my investee company, I will go saja then 10 years, they suddenly tell me they go, I don't get this again. But there's no. So every investors need to exit. Even if you want to pass to your children, when I invest as a VC, I can draw to somebody else. But you still own the company, your children can still run it. But you cannot run away from not having to invest. It's a good validation that someone else believes your business. Just like a successful company should not just be saying that, should not celebrate only, I raised so much, I raised so much, I raised so much. You should celebrate how much revenue have you reached, how much clients have you closed, because investment is not a real testimony of success. How much money you raise. The business model you is so awesome, and it's generating a lot of cash. Why are people raise money? If you keep raising like a lot of stuff, like, oh, I raised so much, I raised so much. But again, I don't know what, you know, how much money how much products have I sold? Right? All this is very, very important. Right side. Okay, so I'll just run through very quickly. I think for you guys, actually crowdfunding is just for you because we've already done it. But like for example, one of our investing companies, Simplify, they have individual investors, they are VCs, but because they have a product, they still went to crowdfunding because they wanted to launch. So you got that kind of problem unless you're very desperate. Right? But I think for most of you, crowdfunding will be good, especially food. If you the most active one is because of Chinese. The Chinese community is My Starter. So My Starter, have you heard of My Starter? MYSTAR. My Starter. You know, famous Chinese community, teaching and vendors and other platforms. So it depends on if it is food, what is your consumer? Do you know mostly the Chinese? Right? So
Sometimes Chinese dia nak rasa tu susah. Tapi bila dia rasa dia akan beli. It's like rice lah. Tapi dia kalau macam dia sometimes dia fikir rice dan kita sampling. Dan dia rasa dia macam risau. Bila I was hunting, Chinese akan ambil taster yang free tu yang berpaket. Maknanya small pack.
Okay.
Dan bagi dia.
So the Chinese don't want to take it. Oh, is it true? Oh, that's something.
So I like the Chinese taste and food. So this is related to for ingredient and so macam kita this is original flavor. So this
but the tasting punya too is like if your promoter bagi in a plate, the Chinese don't take. Serious? But something new.
After my event kan, sepanjang I main event, even observation. So kebanyakan Chinese tak susah sebab dia seperti real kan. Dan dia rasa macam pricing.
dia sangat dia sangat fokus.
To my experience.
Tapi kalau I orang makan, kalau I
measure kita pernah pergi kat China tak pun. Buat orang yang tamu, dia sama je. Rupa ni setting ada sampling juga setting dia pun sama je. Tapi tapi apa yang kita nampak Chinese people from China and Asian people, country Chinese, yang paling diorang berasal adalah tempat lah. Carbohydrate, sodium, sugar, so dia kena percent. So dia sangat particular, berarti satu good lah. Ayat, percent, dia percent. Tapi ingredient dan sempat lagi tiga orang kan bila buat orang percaya tak pakai dengan orang
So if you know this very good about the start, no sugar, less sugar, because I realized that coffee
coffee, it has now less sugar, no sugar, and usually you don't reach here. But that's something new. I didn't know that the consumer behavior.
So maybe dia chocolate, maybe dia chocolate dan dia tak nak macam dia anggap macam chocolate tu memang manis.
Yes.
Dan satu itu manis. So maybe benda tu buatkan dia rasa macam kalau dia makan nanti itu sweet. Tak bisa. So I think that pasal tiny kan. Kebanyakan orang luar datang. Nanti dia
Okay. So I think crowdfunding would be good to also look at the consumer behavior because you can use that as your survey in your database. Right. So anyway, this is the highlight. This is basically the real data of what is happening in the crowdfunding space in Malaysia. Unfortunately, there's some decline. 2024, 97 million subjects in crowdfunding. Because if you look at it, right, crowdfunding normally 2 to 5 million raised. But dalam 2 to 5 million, you have 100 investors. There's one, Commerce Asia, they raise a lot of millions, but that one you can understand behind they already have a specific investor. It's not the and then there are currently I think 13 or even more now license operators. One of the things that orang yang invest dekat equity crowdfunding dulu dia takut there's no exit. Kalau I invest, siapa yang beli punya small shares? But now ada secondary market yang you boleh jual to another person. SC dah approve, so it actually helps, right? And then I think for crowdfunding it's good also to evaluate your product, especially kalau you launch new things for food tasting. Because if you bagi up or you based on easy, and so if few of us we will not be able to help you what survey or give you feedback on the product itself. We can help you on the marketing strategy and all this, but how you develop the product depends on the consumer, what the consumer wants. Right? Especially food. Technology is different. The technology punya roadmap is really very different. Like your product very much meets Wi-Fi because the IoT, the technology company. So if the Wi-Fi in that particular area is not working, it also affects that. For food, for tangible products, it's important to have retail customers as your investors. I feel personally that will give you real feedback. If it's good, they become ambassadors. If it's good, they can become your resellers also. Right? Okay. So far, okay, too much. Or if so, boleh pergi sampai sini. All right. So the why you start is because you like CV product and you cannot find something that Muslims that likes to be serious because we also really found in the raw Japanese product or Korean products. Okay, so look at why we important the gap there was seaweed, but usual supply of seaweed, they got sushi, and then the plain seaweed from Korea is not so tasty. I don't know, and why you cannot eat a lot the pieces of seaweed, right?
Yes.
And then it becomes like a stick on your so you buy the raw seaweed or you buy the cheese?
Kita memang packing dalam satu plastik dari quality.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. So remember, funders,
investors, they want to fund a pain point. Even if you think that this is your aspiration, your hobby, it has to solve a pain point. No money will fund your personal interest. Even if this is your personal interest, you have to make it sound like it is sexy enough that it can be scalable. Because definitely, if that is a hobby, is to do good for the world, you should change it to become social impact. So remember that, and remember that there are many products, even cheap skirt, anything else. How do you stand up from competition? You must always ask, why are you special? Can you keep that special or USP ahead of others? Because I'm sure your competitor tengok produk you, dia pun akan buat research how to be better than you. Right? So it's not only that you're concerned about the own company, you should always look back and see belakang ada trailing. Sometimes you're too passionate about this, looking at this is your product and all this, but pusing belakang, there's somebody doing the same thing. Even like, for example, I own a chain of business. I've got a founder, but I bought it as a franchise. But the brand is so good, it's from Singapore, from business. Every time I ask myself to Google, because there's somebody who actually used the brand name. And we have centers that lost students to this so-called fake. They couldn't number you because it's so easy to copy. And then, you didn't know that it looks the same. Orang akan confused. So it's important to always check, especially for the other trademark. For solutions, I think it's harder. Solution is always a sticky factor. If you deploy an enterprise solution, customer nak tukar pun susah. Unless you really, you know the job. But it's also hard to close the customer. How many months or years before you close one pilot? The sales cycle, how long is the sales cycle?
3 to 6 months.
Normally, the one that takes a long time is the negotiation, the contract.
Negotiation, the contract, finalizing the scope of work.
This is every customer is different, kan?
Yeah, but normally for project this is like that.
I think this one is important. Overuse of buzzword. If let's say you say the technology is good, how good is it? Can you, I think for yourself, how do you measure good, great, like as in output for your customers? You can reduce the downtime by X% compared to what they have right now. I think that is the thing that we're looking for. Right? For those who are in food and all this, kalau you kata healthy, how healthy is healthy? Kalau you kata less sweet, what's the definition of less sweet compared to what? Because a lot of people say organic, and then they trace organic. So I think those are important confidence for the consumer, especially the young consumers. Sekarang dia nak scan QR code, lepas tu dia, then info, so that you can read more and understand more about it. But for example, seaweeds, right? I always say like kalau produk yang ada emotional meaning, for example, this seaweed is harvested from Sabah, and every packet that you buy, these seaweed farmers, you can support the seaweed farmers, or maybe seaweed farming is a dying industry. If you buy more, you can actually support this seaweed industry. So if I know that these seaweeds come from Pak Ali and your family in Sabah, and they've been doing seaweed for a long time, that is something, more than I can just every time I buy, I can just see that's a point. Not just seaweed, it's the main ingredient still seaweed, like a chocolate, sustainable cacao farming. You are supporting small farmers.
not the big farms. So it's important. Of course, not enough space to write here, but the QR is you can tell a story, right? So the story is actually more emotional attachment. Sekarang I tahu baru tanya kan yours is from Sabah, but who from Sabah? You know? So nowadays, I think young people when they buy, kalau like for example your murtabak is actually from the dad's, you know, punya legacy passed down, right? So if they know that this is someone who has made murtabak for the longest time, there's a confidence in it. It's not like, you know, if I know that. So this kind of story is really important if you can. And also like for food, people now want to know the traceability. You know, this is from this particular farm, and this farm is actually a sustainable farm, you know, ethical farming. So I think if you can, do consider that. But buzzwords, especially for technology, you know, for food not so much, but for technology company, there's too much of AI being used. Everything is AI powered. So in every business, I think when you mention something big, you need to justify. If you say my business is good, how good is good compared to who? Malaysia, regional, compared to your closest competitor. If your competitor grew 10% last year, you are growing 5%, are you good or bad? So whatever we say, we need to always think that we can justify it. So that when people ask, you know, you can, you know, try to answer and try to justify yourself. So, of course, when people are looking at products, they can't talk but think of technology. So in your case, in food product, food production, technology is a great help. A lot of things, technology, robotic arms can actually do better. So some VCs are funding food, not just normal traditional food manufacturing, but technology-assisted food manufacturing.
So teknologi itu kan kemarin tahu masalah production luar.
So if you go big, for example, you're exporting worldwide, you need technology. What kind of technology? Robotic arm, just-in-time inventory control, you know, IoTs, you know, because how do you know the ingredients just in time, you know, which ingredient to use first? Because now, even if your operator is usually the first in, first out, because it's unexpected. But when it's too much and you don't have technology, you are going to see problems. Right? So this is something that if you raise funds, for example, you want to expand. You know, you need to spend on technology. So everything, automatic packaging, including the technology and actually connect with the logistics. Is the whole supply chain. And then here after from you order ingredient, the ingredient are low, you know, from you went to those big ones like Nestle, they will always catch the buy not eat the product from the farmers because it's so big. You can't afford not to have logistics and supply chain. So if, for example, for every production, you know how much CO2 are you emitting? Hello, you got that. So people will be asking questions like this for those who does it sustainable food production. A lot of this, but technology will help be able to help you actually capture those data. But then you have someone has technology because you can bust it. So I think one of the things that I really want to stress on, especially in any business, data versus big data. Data is what you capture that. Big data normally is enough information that you can run an insights that you make a decision. Whether you capture data, sales of one product, three products, but then what else can you derive from the sales? Do you capture what time your product goes off the shelf faster, which day, who are your target consumers, how do you convert, if you say it's 20 to 35, how do you convert it to 15 to 35 or extend 35? So these are the data that you need AI or technology to help you crunch it so that it makes sense for you. You will what? Decision faster. Because data, raw data is just noise. Kalau you tengok Excel ni, apa yang you need? You tak ada insight. Data and numbers. Numbers you tell a story. Right?
Kita sudah ingat.
So, kita punya human brain tak boleh process number kan? So you need technology. Because Excel can give some, but too much cannot also, right? So that's important, the data versus the big data. That's why all the e-commerce companies, Shopee, Facebook, and all these are big data companies. Why Facebook akan recommend what product for you? They basically track all your likes, siapa yang you ada kawan, what people who always view Mercedes-Benz, BMW and all this, they will show you the product. People who eat chips and all this, they will show you what. After you eat chips, what will you do? Drinks? What kind of drinks? You makan mineral water ke? You minum mineral water ke? You makan soda. Most people after eating chips or together with chips,
Soda.
Ada dah you makan chip dengan mineral water sekali.
Tapi itu yang saya sendiri buat. Kalau untuk kompon teknis, you pilih beverage.
So these are things not related but it's important. Orang yang makan murtabak normally they go to a store dia akan order apa?
Cendol kan.
It's important observation.
Aku ada kerja pasaran setelah dia ada. Kerja pasaran. Dia boleh bagi apa ya?
Okay, so now for mine it's like it feels like a joke, but I think it's important observation. It relates, right? The habits. So we look at the more dry ones, which is the actual traction, the validation. So what's the difference between traction, transition, and growth? So if you look at, I think you guys are here, right? So you have a goal. Does your product fit the market? Or you trying to push your product to the market, tapi acceptance very low, right? And then what are you trying to do when you are doing the metrics? I'm sure somewhere around you can list metrics here. Are you trying to sell 1,000 pieces every month to maintain the metrics, or are you trying to sell 10,000? We also, for products, we look at volume. Volume, when you are starting out, maybe you're like the for second, it takes a little bit. But when the VC put in money, you should be on the growth stage where you're gonna macam fireman in your fire hose, right? And then when you first started, you maybe have 1 or 2 channels that you draw, right? And then you definitely will start with 1 person. So traction means you can convince some people to buy, but now I think based on your what you understand now, what stage are you in right now? Are you still trying to prove that you have traction? Traction means you try to launch product and then try to convince people to buy, but you already have buyers, kan? You have buyers. Let's say you sell 10,000 packages. What is your next goal? What is your growth plan? 100,000 pieces?
Yes.
So you need to know where you are now. All of you, I think, is probably past the traction. All right, you already proven that there's consumer acceptance. There are around the league, even if it's $1. That's most important. You can create the best product and everybody buy. You have to give it for free. That's not called traction. Right? Then you need to transition to growth. So are you now ready for growth or still transitioning to growth? What do you think?
growth.
Transition to growth.
So if you look at this, right, this is the traction, okay? Let's say 96K. This is transitioning. This is like hyper growth. This is an example. It's not consistent like organic. Because VC money or investment money should not help you to just grow organically. It should leapfrog you, you jump on the trampoline. That's why when we invest, we always ask what's the use of fund. Apa you nak guna money yang you dapat tu? Janganlah kata I nak beli kereta baru, increase my own salary. That is like out of the box. So normally for technology company, product development, hire more people. For you guys, it could be marketing, more products. Because now maybe at the 3 SKUs, you want to do product extension for export, right? So it's important. That's why I show this, because it is not like you know, this from traction to growth, it has to be like a hockey stick. Then you become attractive. If you are like that, it's not attractive to smart money. Okay? So, if in your pitch deck, what consists of a pitch deck? Don't overload it with too much text. Jangan buat essay, because nobody is going to read the essay. You only capture what is important to the investors, right? Janganlah buat terlalu banyak gambar. Like I said, you know, every picture with siapa-siapa pun, it will just club. Because technically, like you have pitched before, you have 5 minutes to watch. What is in that 5 minutes you want to impress, right? So you have to prepare just in case the investors ask. So you should be able to have backup slides. You can put it on backup slides, but not everything. So if you cannot explain your business in 10 slides, you're not in the business. Kena baca satu buku baru understand what you're trying to sell. Is this too much, right? And then I think important is to show facts and figures. And the best if you can show the traction from day one you start, because people like to see like this. But janganlah terlalu ambitious or show something that's impossible. For starting like this, right? If you show me 10 years, I think it's not realistic. If you show me 3 years, I think I will discount still 50%. But I think 3 years is reasonable. There's some people they show 10 years is ridiculous, right? And then of course, infographics is good. Less words, more infographics, more data. For example, you can say, example, I like this. We have pitched to 100 potential customers, but 50 rejected us, and they rejected us because of this. I've never seen people do that, but to me, right, I know the founder went to knock on 100 doors, 50 rejected them, but there's still 50 who opened doors. And they should tell me why the 50 rejected them. Right? So this means that the founder really, is interested to understand what goes wrong with the business and continue to improve. But I hardly see this kind of because like this kind of real investors wants to see what execution are you really doing. If you say you pitch to 100 investors, I will ask you, what about the rest of the time? Who pitched to the customers? But of course, if there is only few of you, that's why the founder can have video 2 hours, because he needs to pitch to investors as well as the customers, right? And then in your pitch deck, you start with the problem statement or where you find there is a niche for the market. The food, the seaweed sector. Seaweed is mostly used in sushi, but never in snacks. This is the first time, and blah, blah, blah. And then what do you do? What's the solution that you came up with? You came up with this seaweed flags, you know, that everybody now can taste seaweed in a better form. And then where's the traction? You started to sell in kampong, friends, and in 3 months, instead of selling 10 packets from the kitchen, you already sold 500. And then how it goes from there. Your value proposition, the market, the competition, your go-to-market strategy. I think you were forced to key in, you know, your strategy just now. And then the financial outlook. The financial outlook, even if you sell 1 million packets and you only make 500,000, there's something wrong with it. There's 2 things you can do. You can be very busy making millions of sales, but your net profit is 100,000. Or someone can just make sales of 2 million, but also profit 100,000. I don't know, because margin is very important. That's where margin comes in. Like maybe his project is a mega project. Only one client can give him, you know, that margin already. I don't know. Usually technology margin now it's what, 15, 20, 35, depends. But the margin for this is different. You cannot produce banyak tools baru boleh dapat. I mean, in terms of money, right? So that is the one question I always ask the entrepreneurs before you decide to jadi entrepreneur. You not what? You're not very busy to show you are a banyak revenue, but the profit is very small. If you look at the public listed company, you can see market cap billion, but then at the end of the day, the net profit is very little. But of course, there are tricks in there. If you're a company, you don't bayar tax, then you can charge everything to yourself, and then you don't bayar tax amount, so your profit is low. But if you want to show investors, this is not a good thing. But I wouldn't invest in a company where you charge everything, you know, of your family to the company and then show me a nice profit. Because to me, it's the profit that matters. Okay. Okay. So as investors, we look at the execution part, not really the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is where you build your execution part. So I pick this, you know, as an example. So this company is called Accreditation. They are after 80 billion market opportunity, and this is the deck, actual deck, how they show the investors. So first thing they say, Accreditation will conquer its current space by cross-selling to new teams within existing clients. That means you upsell. So if let's say you're going to launch, you have these 3 products, you have an existing client, what else can the customer buy from you if you want to do product extension? You want something totally different, right? What are you going to upsell? What else can you get from the customer? Another extra dollar from his or her pocket. What are you going to sell? Because you have the data. Assuming you have the database, you're going to send out a newsletter. What product? Because it's easier to sell to existing customers than to a new one then. Because you already have. So what products? If you're thinking of it. So how do you cross-sell? It can be you cross-sell with other things, right? You can cross-sell, I tanya, hey, you makan chips. After makan chips, you screw the harbor back. Can you cross-sell with a drink? Packaging to what promotion? Combo. I wanted to ask if people happen this in the movie. In a movie. Last time the chocolate company I invested in, they were trying, they go to GSC bagi dia space yang free. Remember, there's nothing free in life. A chocolate is definitely not a good product to be in the cinema. You know, chocolate, especially the dark chocolate, is sticky, is black. In the darkness, imagine you eat chocolate.
you need to use the toothpick, and you buy the chocolate in a whole box. After the 2-hour cinema show, the chocolate all melted. Right? And the popcorn culture, will you be able to change by convincing people not to buy popcorn and buy chocolate to eat in the cinema?
Saya fikir pernah 2019 pernah cukup fokus dengan DSC. Setahun juga lah kita cuba. So masa tu dah diorang dah nak jawab. Tapi malah ni sebab COVID. So diorang hold. And then to industri hiburan tu setahun lebih kan. So diorang pun terus masa tu tengok main DSC ni memang dah mati jauh. So dia kata waktu dia cakap dia balik, so dia tak ambil, dia masuk sekali dengan money macam yang produk biasa kita tengok produk-produk yang macam bisnis, dia hanya memang fokus pada
nachos, right? Always
ya, itu pun masa tu pun dia redor lah. So the fix semua polisi apa semua dia hanya jualkan fokus dia punya popcorn saja.
The thing is that, yeah, I think you have to know like why GSC is only on pop. I mean, it's a culture. Right?
Tapi 2024 kita pun cuba tengok dia dah start balik sekarang. So diorang cuba dia balik lah. We hope one day dia akan.
So you will tie up with the Pepsi and the Coke. If they buy Coke, you can have sample. But definitely things yang soft, yang akan melt, is definitely not for inside.
Sebab macam apa yang yang kita kan bukan dia orang lain memang kita beli direct. Kita tahu dia beli direct. Okay, kita direct. So dia macam beli dah. So orang kita senang.
But the only thing is that if you set up a stall there is peak period. Masa orang nak masuk and masa orang keluar. But masa orang keluar everything, there's nobody. People are rushing to the car park, rushing to somewhere else. Nobody is going to stop and buy. That's the good observation. Bila orang tunggu, then you still have a chance. That means in between the 2 hours, you can, takap lalat. Because who goes to that cinema in front of the cinema? Nobody. This is at the 4th floor, that Bandar Utama, that floor that there's nobody car park. So you have how many screening in one day? 4 maximum. Only the entry, the going out is together with the entry now. But people who rush to go out, dia memang akan balik lah, especially the night. You tengok pukul 9, finish at 11, takkan you nak beli barang. So whether is it worth to set up, even GSC bagi the company free now, the free rental. But one day they sell like what? 4 boxes of chocolate, and then you have to put 2 staff there. You're gonna put 1 staff, right? Because it's 10 to 10. So is it worth it? Because the human resource cost. So unless you can partner or set direct to GSC, but to set up a store. So imagine you have a product, you must always have a product extension, right? Apple sell phone, then you know what is important to the phone. So important, and then this is the cross sell. Then will you go up market or by upselling to a new client? This one to consumer, can you sell to restaurants? Airlines? Have you tried airlines? Malaysia?
Kita pernah buka di poster yang untuk airline, di program PCR lah, dan santai. Santai kat kita, so memang cuba nego lah untuk discuss. Tapi kita cuba juga pagi ni jumpa dengan beberapa penasihat. So dia kata cuba tengok macam mana.
Because like Malaysia Airlines always give us.
Yeah, this dinner, dia juga dinner tak.
Why?
Yeah. Kacang.
Kenapa dia bagi kacang? Anybody try to understand why they bagi kacang?
Because kacang is an appetizer. Once you buy kacang, you will eat more. It's like a food restaurant for Chinese. That's why they open up the kacang. We will order more.
So if this is a pallet
saya rasa hungry lagi ke? Boleh?
Kalau MSG boleh.
Famous cookies.
Apa mungkin saya tu tidak boleh jumpa.
So for you, right, is your aspiration to replace the famous cookies in the airline? Tapi I selalu two pieces of famous cookies saja.
Ya.
Okay, so this one basically tells you like if you are pitching, you know, this is a good example of how you want to tell your customers that you can cross-sell and you can upsell. This is the easiest deck to show, right? Tak payah tulis banyak-banyak, right? And then of course, this is an $80 billion market, but you are only going for 10 by doing cross-sell, by doing upsell. You're not really coming up with a new product, but you're just harvesting what your client, your existing client, can afford to pay more. Sebab you want to convince someone to beli product you from a stranger is so hard. But dah guna, dah makan, you can always sell. It's easy, right? Okay, then lastly, I think you know yourself best. Where's your strength, where's your weakness? But when you present yourself, right, what do you describe yourself? Ini bukan but to be fair, we are all human. Kita memang judgmental. There are, this is an example. Okay, there are some founders. Here, what the photo of this statue. You know, the girls will be like in some not very appropriate, and then you know, like this. So I think being appropriate is so important. You tak payah, you know, pakai very formal, but you know, girls, some girls, I don't know. This is maybe some girls will hate me for saying this, but when I judge, the girls will go up the stage and the judges can. What you wear is very important. You need 5 minutes. Unless you think what you wear will impress the judge. But there was once this real case. The girl wear mini skirt, so dia naik atas pentas to the judge di bawah. She keep pulling it. So unless you think the guy's judge will be impressed, but then the girl's judge will be like, what are you doing? So to be presentable is very, very important. Yeah, because you'll be so uncomfortable because you suddenly feel that, hey, orang boleh nampak ke? You know? And when you are invited as girls to the panel speakers, usually don't wear skirt when you have to sit on the high chair. But what you describe as a team is very important, and how you position yourself. This one, obviously, they want to position the girl because she's a big girl. But don't say award winning entrepreneur. You know, we know that a lot of awards can be awards. This one, they basically impress the investors by their previous working experience. Alright? So, for example, even if you are food, but you have engineering background. Usually, engineering people are more precision. They are, you know, very structured people, not creative, messy. What's your background? Engineering. Your background?
I retails.
Retails. What about your background? Retail. Okay. So you need to use your previous background to amplify. So maybe retail, what do you observe in your work as a retailer? There's a gap that you observe. That's why you start. So for her, it's because she loves seaweeds and she couldn't find a product that you know is available for the Muslim market. Easy to eat. Sushi is very sticky also, and you don't eat sushi every day. It's not something that you can stand, right? But when you present this, if you have a good team, what are the important position that needs to be in. The finance person and the marketing person. Of course, you as a founder, but as a founder, you don't have this also. It's not by default. You can be a CTO if you're engineering. Like for example, you could be the one that is a chief product development. Because a CEO of the company is the super salesman. The CEO is just a salesman. You have to sell to internally your employees so that your employees are happy, they work for you. You have to sell to investors. You have to sell to your consumers. So you are the one that sell everything. It's just a very chief entertaining officer. You entertain everybody, including your wife. Yeah. So important. And if you, both of you are co-founder, right? So co-founder. They are founded first, you join later. So anyway, it's important to look at your team as you grow. So maybe your traction, when you have traction, you have founder. But then as you grow, do you have a CFO? Siapa yang buat accounts? You buat. Siapa yang buat marketing? You buat. Dia buat. Siapa yang buat product? You buat. But it's important that you slowly try to get people in. Do not be afraid that you share your baby with people. You need good people, right? And do not be afraid to give out equity or employee option, so that they feel that they belong to you, your company. If not, then you will just be competing with higher pay. And you know, young people, hire do a job. So you need to be able to train, good people. Right. Okay, this is the most important one. You have received the term sheet. What was your first impression when you received the term sheet? Did you get a lawyer to read it? Because term sheet can, of course, like in bank, you sign the document, do you actually read all the terms, the fine print? I baca my. But a lot of things is purposely squeeze inside there so that you paham. For example, the investors' rights and protection. Usually VC, we will invest and then we'll say we have first right. First right to invest more money. First right to dapat money if you exit. First right to ambil duit if you go bankrupt. And then as a founder, you can add the protection clause. You cannot dilute and then you cannot raise money from XYZ. Some investors do that. So, like for example, I can say, once I invest, you can't raise money from China. Or you cannot raise money from Saudi Arabia. As an investor, I can put that clause. Or you cannot raise money within, whatever you do. Right? So it's important that you really understand the term sheet. Obviously, I don't expect you guys to understand, but have someone legal background to explain to you what contract you get into. And if what things goes, wrong way, how do you exit? Because investor can sue you. They can sue you even your business bankrupt and you are the one losing the most cash. Because they can sue you. They can sue you for non-disclosure. They can sue you for a lot of the things. Of course, the term sheet is given to you. You also don't have to sign it if you feel that the terms are not in favor of you. Right? And some more smart founders take the term sheet and go shopping around. Hey, I already dapat term sheet. Hey, siapa nak join? Or siapa I dah dapat term sheet? Siapa nak bagi lebih valuation? But again, remember, investors is a small community. Once you go shopping around, it's not very ethical, but it's not wrong, it's not criminal. Unless you say, oh, I tak mau lah like this alone because I feel that ABC also can give me some value add. So I ambil 1 million from Tigers, I ambil 1 million from XYZ. That is okay if you already discussed with us. But if kalau Tigers are bagi term sheet 2 million, then you go to investor A, investor B and say, hey, Tigers bagi 2 million, valuation dia bagi is 10 juta. Boleh tak you bagi 12 juta? If dia bagi 12 juta, that means you give up. You know, that's an equity kan? You still dapat. That is not very ethical. At the end, that other DC will come and ask Tigers, because we give friends, right? You ask him, because dia pun tak mau nak, you know, make us angry kan? Yeah, so it will go on. But you can tell the investors that I'm also talking to XYZ investors. Are you okay if I also talk to them, or are you okay if you join together? So this one, when you have dapat term sheet, congratulations, it's first step. But the term sheet will bring you to ask the question of valuation. How do you value your company? There are banyak methods that we value the company based on cash flow, which based on discounted cash flow, with projection, then the discount, right? But if you dapat the term sheets, it's not a cast and stone. You are free to negotiate because it's a buyer and seller market. Dia nak beli murah. Of course, you nak jual tinggi. So it's a negotiation. What is fair? A lot of investors, especially angel investors, dia kata, oh, bagilah 50,000, I ambil 50% of your company. And this is real case, huh? So some desperate yang tak tahu, yang tak pernah pergi accelerator, so ambil lah. Then they realize, okay, I kena cheated pula. 50K, half of my company is gone. The next funder, tengok, kalau I bagi 500K, what are you left with? You will be diluted to something that you also tak larat nak buat so hard for your company. Why are your company value at 1 million, tapi you dapat 10% saja your equity? So be careful. How much money, how much valuation, you know, is important to negotiate. So the valuation, these are the clauses that you will find. Some people will say, oh, I'll be on your board seat, you know, so that I can see what you're doing, right? And then they will definitely ask for legal fees because both parties need to do due diligence. And then never negotiate for this, you know, some may say, I will get your IP rights, you know, I will need dividends. No VC will ask for dividends, right? And then a lot of other liquidation preference. Liquidation preference means kalau you go bankrupt, typically is the employees who dapat first kan, but VC can put the clause in that. I don't care about the employees. This is a very bad clause, right? So always get a, you know, someone to fundraise. And I think if what is a red flag? Some people they pretend to be investors, but we ask for views. So if any, there is some are pretending to be investors. They say, you know, for me to process and look at your debt, I need to get 10,000. But they are not actually an investor. They may have other investors before, so they are advisors, right? Okay, these are some of the real things that you probably will come across. The bait and switch scam. They are not really investors. They bukan investor, tapi they are fundraising advisors. Ada orang kata, I know, you know, I can invest, but I bawa you for a life. Tapi I dapat commission from that, right? So they are not, and you maybe don't want to. So if you raise 500,000, maybe they dapat. So actual money that you get is right? And then the VC on payroll. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. For example, if you invest, Peter invests 40K in the startup, and in exchange, you have to hire Peter's son as an advisor for 2K a month.
So in 2 years, people would have recovered and then still have the equity in your company. You know, a lot of these are happening. The next is the pay to play. If I want to think, if Hidayat will be charged 2%, he will be multi-millionaire right now because we see so many companies. To evaluate, you're gonna buy it too. If not, I won't see you. But then that person who evaluate actually don't have money. What they will do is they will pass it to the other VCs. So they are technically a broker. So be careful of those. And of course, this one, let's do the equity instead. It's a very famous Malaysia punya trick, especially if you jumpa orang yang I would say the traditional businessman.
Orang tua.
I try not to say that word, but he has to say orang tua, orang dato, tan sri, whatever.
Tak juga, tapi macam saya sudah pernah diskep sama umur 18 tahun. Benar.
But this one is like, for example, you know, they say I will be your advisor, but you have no money to pay. Then they say, what if I convert my advice to equity? But you have to think of this person. If that person has never done a business, has never run a successful business, never exited, what advice is he going to give you? Kalau dia trainer saja, dia pun tak pernah invest. A lot of this, and there are many real examples of you dapat investor, advisor macam ni, yang dia ambil, 5% of your company for giving what the textbook advice. Very easy, dia bagi 10 steps to be a millionaire. You baca buku saja. Right? So be careful in this. Yeah. And mentors, advisors, you can, okay, if you find a good one, yes, you can give them. But always tell them, this is your KPI. If you introduce me to 10 big clients and I am on board 5 hypermarkets, I give you. Don't give at the beginning. Bagi dia KPI. You now free equity, bagi KPI. In 1 year, if you can help me raise the fund, I will give 1%. If you can help me introduce to 5 clients, I will give you. Right? Do not give dulu. Right? But make a small agreement with them. Your free lunch, they have to work for it. If dia tak mau work, bagi lagi. If you give money, I give you straight equity. Okay? All right. So this one, I don't know if we have time. 1 hour. Okay. I like you to take a 5 minutes break. Since you have already done all the strategy and all this, right? Can each of you do a 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes pitch about your company? Because you have seen what we teach you the last 3 days. Just tell me, okay? In the 5 minutes, how are you going to convince me or Hidayat to invest? So, what is important? USP, traction, your team. Again. Okay. This is some of it, but yeah, 2 to 5 minutes. Just tell me what you do, and based on apa yang kita discuss, right? You pick up like, what are the key words you use. What's your USP? Why you're doing it? Just practice. I'm not going to comment. I'm going to ask your classmates to comment. Then I can know whether they're sleeping good, they're listening. So you will comment on each other because this is your time to learn. It's easier to teach your friends. Yang bagi feedback yang real lah. So don't be afraid because whatever it is just being discussed, right? You can write down keywords. Keywords. Apa yang you nak cakap? Just keywords. I mean, to his friends.
Okay,
Keywords.
People that we can talk
Now, you're looking at the dimension analysis. These are actually things that help you to form your pitch. What's your unique selling point? How are you going to scale it? What are your products and services? What do you sell? So, what's your branding, marketing? You know, how is your resources? So the first three is already you can what pitched up.
Ini paper 4, lain lah.
Dia punya, because so this is a unique market proposition. Can seaweed, if let's say your focus is memang seaweed, where can the seaweed be combined? Sekarang is cheap, right? So kalau you nak upsell, you nak cross sell, seaweed boleh bubuh dalam apa lagi? Seaweed ice cream. Seaweed apa lagi?
Kita hasilkan seaweed plate.
Okay, mana boleh pitch?
Seaweed.
Cuma yang tu kita tak boleh open sebab kita nak tengok kesabaran yang bahan letak kita.
Apa tak apa plan.
Tapi kalau tak sikit boleh. Kalau cakap di production.
Seaweed chocolate.
Korang ni pitch betul-betul depan investor.
Bayar yang depan investor. Tak tahu nak dengar ni.
Tak nak seaweed nak apa?
Let me think innovation. Lu ni dah berubah.
Tapi sampai sini sudah ada umat.
Kita ready buat so kita bagi pada kawan-kawan. So ini sangat.
Okay,
Ready kita bagi dia.
dibagi people. Banyak bisnis seaweed kan? Kenapa your seaweed? Why you pick that particular seaweed punya jindung ke apa? I don't know lah. But I know there's many types of seaweed.
Tak semua pun sesuai proses. Kita buat pun bukan ada proses.
So you pick that particular seaweed sebab what is readily available, is ethically sourced, meaning seaweed is an ecosystem of the sea, kan?
Yes.
You know, if you take all the seaweed, maybe 100,000 fishes tak ada Neoh. Example lah, I don't know. You know all the Neoh story. So if you take harvest of seaweed, is it ethically farmed the seaweeds? You take from whatever you take from earth, you have to return back. So the farmers, they just dia ada sustainable farming. And then this seaweed is farmed in the fresh water, Sabah, where the water is clean. The seaweed is not contaminated.
Kita pasti ada berapa ada pergerakan yang kita ada. Yang betul sekarang ni nampak daripada Thailand, Korea dah ada, Neoh brand Korea dah ada. Yang ada satu yang brand daripada yang dekat famous daripada Korea pun tak tahu. Tapi kalau kata yang aku cari cara online, yang cuba buat kan. Kalau saja yang Thailand tu dengan yang daripada Korea, dia Neoh. Kalau sini pun yang pun kita juga.
Seaweed is, imagine your ingredient is, let's say 10 types of ingredient. Seaweed consists of berapa percent of your ingredient?
50%.
Yang lain-lain tu. So if seaweed is more than 50% of your raw ingredients, if you grow big one day, are you planning to have your own seaweed farm? So that you can control the seaweed quality.
Cuma ya barang kita jadi fokus. So memang kalau tanya memang agak tahu ada rasa
Because I think you need, since 50% of the ingredient is seaweed,
Yeah.
you need to protect the supply chain. You need to make sure that quality.
kontrol rantai makanan juga daripada farming sampai ke end.
Sekarang you dapat supply dari berapa supplier?
Kita memang hapus daripada sukan formal sana. Nanti kita align pada satu distributor. Dan sekarang tagihan tu kita gunakan dua warehouse untuk kontrol dia punya juga. Sebab kita masih lagi daripada Sabah tu kita orang dan kita ni kat Thailand. So kita masih lagi beli container. So nak beli container tu memang tak mampu. So kadang-kadang pagi ni pun kita dah satu trailer. Kita masih bisa USP kami yang kaya nilai yang paling USP internet kita.
Kelebihan produk ni lah. Kelebihan produk datang dari your taste, your raw material, experience. Ni kurang minyak untuk promotion pada mesin untuk buat minyak.
Tapi biasa paling bernilai lah bagi saya yang banyak customer agak sebab dia boleh kata produk baru tetap saja. Sebab mungkin kita gunakan barang apa. Saya kita dapat apa boleh beli.
But what USP is usually unique to you kan, yang orang lain susah nak copy. Your USP today is you kata this is new product, okay. Tomorrow you jadi produk lama dah. Can somebody copy you?
That's okay.
Boleh.
Boleh jadi juga.
So if someone that can copy you, are you still unique? You have to ask yourself. Apa yang you boleh protect from your product that you use?
Jenama and punya recipe, formulation. Jenama tak ada apa nak protect.
Brand equity is a very big thing, you know. Don't use the buzzword.
First kita punya layan dia ada from KPM sama ada kan yang product measure. Kita guna product measure means kita guna semua barang measure
100% made in Malaysia.
that's why kita ada from the KPM.
KPM buat dia bagi berapa certificate to how many companies?
KPM. Tak tinggal untuk pengesahan barang produk.
Berapa ramai company dapat pengesahan ni? Because it's like I dapat HRD apa punya certificate tapi dia mass produced. So what is so special? This is the type of CV, is it? Your brand. What is this name? Susah nak macam Harry Potter. Jerry. Apa maksudnya? Harry. Long and Harry. Ini special brand CV yang lama tak?
Itulah ini. Kalau saya ada budak kampung orang Malaysia mana ada orang makan sendiri tapi tak sedap. Saya tak boleh makan sebab Malaysia saya ada orang makan sendiri.
The ingredients, right? Why do you put the type of seaweed? Seaweed tu banyak kan?
Ya, kalau mana kenapa tak mention? Kenapa tak mention? So kita
So normally it's not required to mention.
satu lagi nasihat kita juga kita tu sendiri contoh dah satu masa suka pusat dia. Kadang-kadang ni padahal dia dapat yang kita pernah analisis dia pernah study juga maklumat dapat dalam 3,000 definisi banyak. Jadi bukan semua kita pakai. Ada dalam 1,800 mungkin 1,800 tu yang ABCD tu lah. Boleh jadi yang ABCD kita pakai tapi yang lain kita pakai AB dan D. Si tak ada stock. So kita tak boleh mention.
But how do you, kalau you pakai batch yang tak sama-sama or jenis yang tak sama, how do you make sure the quality taste dia sama?
Dia tak ada masalah. Dia bukan mana yang orang apa. Dia cakap ni bukanlah konten yang kita tahu. Dia bukanlah kata hari ni kita pakai naik, besok pakai presiden. Tak salah. Tapi yang kata mana tak dekat Sarawak ni, yang saya tahu kurang lebih banyak sih nama dia. Tapi kalau kita tengok yang dia warna purple dengan warna brown.
Okay, I'm a new user. My first fund, we invested in a company, actually kelapa sawit, Kepung Bernat, right? They have a venture fund that they lab. Yang dia buat research for palm oil, vitamin, natural palm oil dan natural vitamin E. Most of the vitamin E yang kita beli dari the shelf is synthetic vitamin E. You boleh pergi check. Synthetic vitamin E. Be sample. Palm oil ada natural vitamin E. So they want to launch a product based on this natural vitamin E. Tapi masalahnya, but natural vitamin E is more expensive than the synthetic vitamin E. So if you launch a product and say natural vitamin E and you put next to the synthetic vitamin E yang kita dah biasa, you're not going to get the wow factor. So when we were doing the product formulation, you need to find, so what are the properties of natural vitamin E? Natural vitamin E, ada research to say, not a claim, usually no claims, that they will prevent stroke. Natural vitamin E will prevent stroke. So in that bottle, they said reduce, or prevent stroke. So instead of selling vitamin E, they're selling something more valuable than is that natural vitamin E prevents stroke. So I just did a check. Seaweed is a nutrient-dense, low-calorie superfood rich in iodine, tyrosine, iron fibers supporting thyroid function, heart health, and gut health. I've never seen a chips that says, if you eat the chips, you will support your heart health. So you may want to consider to emphasize on your special raw ingredient called seaweeds. Regardless of what seaweed, they have these properties.
Right. So 5 years ago, we got our first contract in.
Can you speak in Malay?
Buat dulu lah.
Bukan tak memang saya tak tahu.
Apa, nanti ada
Translate, Google Translate.
So 5 years ago, we got our first contract for robotics in palm oil plantation. I got so happy that I got lost in palm oil plantation. Sesat tak? Sesat. Orang sesat buat apa? So kita akan keluar handphone kan? Keluar handphone tengok tak ada signal. No! Macam mana kita operate kelapa sawit dekat tempat yang ada internet? Betul? Jadi kita buat study macam mana operation kat dalam ladang kelapa sawit. Tahu tak? 5.5 million hectares of palm oil plantation yang membuatkan kita dua terbesar kat dunia ni. Tapi kita cuma ada output of 55%. Sebab apa? Pertamanya kita bergantung tinggi pada operation. Dan sekarang kita pakai pilih asing. Keduanya kita tak ada data untuk membuatkan operation ni lebih efisien dan juga meningkatkan productivity. So kita keluarkan satu solution yang dinamakan sebagai therapy net. It's an award-winning solution yang kita menang daripada challenge daripada Nation Palm Oil Board dan juga MCMC. Macam mana kita selesaikan masalah? Kenapa tak ada internet tadi? Sebabnya kebanyakan ladang kelapa sawit ni di luar kawasan bandar. So tak ada telefon tower, tak ada network. So kita buat mesh network kat bawah tu. Dan bila kita ada mesh network, kita enablekan digital dengan dapat data daripada pekerja, daripada asset, sampai daripada sensor. Dan yang paling best kan, imagine pada masa akan datang, orang boleh operate dan bekerja dalam ladang kelapa sawit hanya kat Neoh ataupun mungkin kat sini. Jadi 5.5 juta, 50% daripada ini adalah dimiliki oleh syarikat kelapa sawit yang besar. So kita target 50% Ni kita ambil 10% daripada situ. 10% daripada 5.5 million hectares. That is our target. Business model kita, satu, untuk mendapatkan network, perlu ada mesh network. So ada hardware, penjualan hardware. Dan juga untuk software, for every hectares, we will charge as long as they are using our platform. Selain daripada tu, kita juga ada cross-selling dengan lain-lain provider untuk teknologi. So kita boleh expandkan lagi kita punya offering ke klien. Jadi kalau kita tengok, in terms of competition, it is something new. Somehow ada juga company yang start one. Tapi apa yang beza dengan kita, we go up to the level of robotics yang boleh operate pada jauh tanpa perlu ada di dalam. So bila kita fikir pasal power condition, boleh fikir pasal my robotics. Thank you.
What do you think? Is it convincing? Mestilah convincing dah dapat investor kan. But do you think kalau day one, you punya pitch akan so smooth tak? Dia dah practice 100 times tau. Lebih. So his practice makes perfect. But what he's doing now, he's not really pitching, he's not asking for anything, he's just telling you the story of why he started it. Because, you know, whether the real sesat or belum sesat is a convincing story and it's real that when you go to the kelapa sawit, even the schools around that outskirts, dia memang tak ada. Right? So if you fly over, memang ladang kelapa sawit. My question is, this kind of solution, will it be scalable in places like Indonesia, which has bigger plantation, or is it just palm oil? Can it be other plantation and other crops?
Okay, so we got the idea from one industry, but they have more money, which is oil and also mining. So this is almost the same technology.
Yes.
But why we choose palm oil plantations? Because it's one of the biggest contributor for our GDP. And then we are highly impacted regarding the workers issue as compared to Indonesia. But somehow the business model of workers will be working in harsh conditions. So I think for any countries, it won't be feasible in the future, especially in 3 to 5 years time. So that's why our main aim now is to complete the pilot for MPOB, and then we scale to all the DLCs for big palm oil operation. Then after that, in 3 years, then only we go to Indonesia, the world's largest producer.
Okay, good. Ada komen lain? Faham tak what he's trying to do?
Dia faham, dia memang ranking dari dia juga dalam awal daftar dia boleh hafal.
I think
How do robot operate? I don't know how the robot operate.
Okay, robot operate.
Switch je bang.
Jadi dia buat apa? Maksudnya
Okay, so kalau kita tengok dalam ini banyak solution daripada yang senang pada susah, tapi semua nak bagi orang. Contoh apa? Potong rumput. Itu kita boleh bagi robot rumput. Lagi apa? Membaca. Boleh kita robot membaca. Coding, atau nak ambil yang file yang habis. So banyak operation ni sebenarnya kita boleh pakai remote control daripada jauh.
Tapi jeboling ada di foto.
Apa tu?
Jeboling.
Pruning tu yang potong
Peluang.
itu antara yang challenging lah. Yang antara yang challenging ada dua. Satu yang pruning tadi dengan harvesting.
yang kena ambil
Potong pakai ni masih manual lagi.
Ada mesin tapi dia tak dia tak boleh configure dengan mesin. Sebab itu kita tengok buat tak sampai 5 saat. Kalau robot dia nak betul parking, dia nak naik bicycle.
dia kena parking dah 1 hour.
Tapi ini kalau kita akan melakukan dia 50 kurang masa dan saya akan balik. Okay, dia mudah boleh pakai. Kalau orang ni itu yang kaki bukan
Kalau dia boleh operate 24 hours dan juga kalau kita dapat more data, especially on AI, boleh train lah dia punya position. Maybe not now, but we have to start lah. But still, we have to come back to digital, the core backbone of is the network.
System. Because a lot of big farmers like Cargill and all this, all the harvesting is using robotics, AI, you know, just nobody even need to drive that
Yeah.
tractor.
Sebenarnya kalau yang untuk yang kata underground tu pun tidak terus sangat. Kalau ada yang motor rumput yang motor tu, setting dia pun perbaikan mereka jadi boleh lah.
Untuk yang mesin robotik yang besar.
Dia bagi tu kan. Itu ada dua cara. Kita start daripada buat prototype untuk machine dan robotik ni.
Okay.
Tapi lepas kita fikir, we want to focus on the part ialah media network dengan platform. So macam kita buat, kita akan collaborate dengan company-company yang ada. Jadi diorang akan perlukan network, dia akan perlukan data. So kita
Can they collaborate with Simplify? Can they collaborate with Simplify? Okay. Okay. Okay, next.
Yes. Nama saya Rina. Okay, saya first buat mutabak. Okay, actually saya cerita lah. Mutabak ni ialah perniagaan arwah ayah saya lah. Okay, perniagaan ni ialah perniagaan yang diwarisi oleh family ayah saya lah. Dan keluarga lah. So saya sebenarnya tak pernah fikir pun saya nak buat this perniagaan saya tak suka pun nak buat, tapi sebab saya tengok pada perniagaan dia berniaga dulu, dia berniaga pasar malam,
Maybe extend this.
dia berniaga dekat pasar malam kan. So saya rasa macam saya tak suka lah buat. Tapi sebabkan saya rasa macam dengan perniagaan ni membesarkan saya dengan my sister lah kan. So I think dia ada satu value lah dalam perniagaan ni. So yang buatkan saya rasa macam I need to do something lah. So saya ambil take the challenge lah. Saya ambil, saya sambung dengan arwah saya ni. Okay, tapi saya tukar trend sikit lah. Kalau dulu arwah saya berniaga di pasar malam dia, so saya buat perniagaan ni daripada menjual mutabak yang dah masak tu, and then kita bina produk. Kita bina sehingga dia menjadi satu produk mutabak lah, mutabak frozen. So now saya ada lebih kurang 5 produk utama kita lah. Dan yang paling orang kata favourite, orang suka bikin mutabak ayam, mutabak daging, and then kita juga ada inti mutabak yang telah diinovasikan. Daripada inti tu dia boleh buat banyak sangat, kata dia boleh daripada inti mutabak tu kita boleh buat kata roti john, dia diinovasikan menjadi samosa. So dia boleh menjamin juga lah pendapatan kepada ramai orang lah. Dan apa yang uniknya tentang produk kita ni, produk mutabak ni, kita tahu kat luar sana memang banyak orang jual mutabak kan. Tapi resepi daripada original Pak Din tu sendiri, dan kita juga orang kata kalau nak compare mutabak Pak Din ni orang beza dia, kita ada minyak tu kita buat sendiri lah. Minyak tu yang membezakan kita punya dengan different lah. Selain daripada rasa dia tu kan, bawang dia tu yang tak orang kata konsisten rasa dia tu yang buatkan yes. Secret recipe. Kalau macam dalam family saya ni, saya, my sister yang memang boleh buat. So itu dah susah sikit lah nak buat kan. Then, apa lagi kan? So kita, sebenarnya saya sendiri, kita start 2023. So kita dah banyak, saya start berniaga 2011. And then, masa PKP tu kita down sikit and then kita grow balik. So I think yang betul-betul saya ialah pada tahun 2023 sampai sekarang lah. Jadi my produk pun sekarang dah ada persediaan, ada semua lah, persediaan halal semua. So kita grow lah. Saya rasa dalam tempoh 3 tahun ni banyak benda lain kita dah grow dari segi pendapatan. Jadi kita punya peluang rumah, maksudnya kita dah berluaskan daripada dulu kita cuma jual dekat kedai, kita menunggu, tapi sekarang kita dah orang kata dah cari vendor, kita dah kita dah cari vendor, kita dah mula untuk memperkenalkan produk kita lah, brand kita lah. So
What's your future plan? Future plan lah. Sekarang semua dekat let's say retailer supermarket kan. Future plan export.
Okay. Untuk future plan saya, sekarang saya start dengan sekarang bila-bila kita kedai kecil, and then kita sekarang dah pun pindah ke satu yang lebih kilang lah, yang lebih besar. Sekarang dah I think 3 bulan kot saya pindah kat situ. Dan kita pindah tu sebab kita pertama dah dapat banyak bahan sebenarnya, sebab kapasiti kita yang kat kedai kecil dah tak, so that's why kita pindah ke satu mini kilang yang lebih banyak dengan saya boleh buat lagi banyak. Sebab sekarang permintaan banyak. Tapi problem dia kita perlukan orang kata sikit lagi dari segi modal persaingan untuk kita buat penjualan lebih banyak. Mungkin kita boleh buat satu machine yang boleh kurangkan tenaga bekerja kan. Kita ada actually kita ada je machine-machine dia untuk buat ini semua. Dan sedih kita nak arrange satu machine yang lepas ni orang kata kita boleh buat murtabak tu tanpa kemahiran. Dia boleh buat lebih banyak. So that's why saya pindah ke Readiness itu. Kita buat lebih banyak capacity. Kita boleh arrange produk kita lagi dengan lebih lah untuk kita cari produk kita. Okay.
Faham tak? What is the why? Why she started? Because she wants to continue the father punya legacy. Continue. There are many people who take over the bapa family, but continue doing the same thing. So you still, if she is not innovative, she will probably be selling the same pasangan, right? But she used this experience to expand. And I like the part where it's not just about the murtabak. So murtabak are two things, right? The skin and the isi. Yeah. So she's now thinking of cross-selling the isi so that you can put it in your discuss so that's probably upselling. You can break down the murtabak to two. So what is special about the murtabak? Is it the skin or the inti? The inti. The inti, yeah. Because I think for murtabak, I want to ask, like, is it a staple food for orang? Satu ruchi, staple, right? Because people don't eat murtabak every day. Is it something that let's say your customer, okay, for example, IKEA aspire to be in everybody's household. You aspire to have people eat murtabak at least once a month or once a week, which is more practical. When's the last time you makan murtabak?
Saya makan murtabak.
Tadi. But it is important, right? If your customer only eat once every quarter, then you can predict. Because it's not something that macam chips yang boleh makan, right? So that's important. But what else can you make from the murtabak that you can, instead of once a month, maybe pao boleh makan breakfast, but murtabak for breakfast maybe once a while. So it's important for you lah, because product yang orang makan once a blue moon, unless you sell very expensive, right? So anyway. I like the cross-selling part. Okay, siapa lagi? Ini another venture capital. Venture.
Okay, assalamualaikum. Nama saya Sarah. Saya pengasas produk company SUL Ventures. Saya keluarkan produk di sini, chocolate cereal snacks. Ini adalah syarikat yang saya dapat tubuhkan 2025. Before that, saya buat home base. Memang daripada 2018, my short story adalah kami buat produk tu daripada kuih raya. Daripada kuih raya, so nak solvekan problem customer, dia minta daily produk tu. Jadi kami tukar, variasikan dia kepada snack. So daripada kuih raya kepada snack. So kenapa kami pilih coklat? Because of my husband, sebab dia every day akan open peti ais untuk makan coklat. So tu startup yang kenapa kami pilih coklat lah. Then ni adalah kilang tempat pemprosesan dan pengeluaran sahaja jadi jual dari situ. So kami dah dapat persetujuan halal mesti dan buatan Malaysia. Baru hujung 2000.
The slide need to move, right?
Okay, next. So kami punya beroperasi di Jalan Kebun Kelana. So kami
Okay, go first, then I will give my feedback.
next.
Okay, next. before this, before the one, balik. Locally sourced ingredient with the finest Malaysian chocolate, crafted with care and precision, India and the best raw materials with high quality, founded by passionate and dedicated team to strive. Okay. Right. Steve, Arif.
Okay, I found it. I am trying. Diana adalah minister pada production. So, dia compound chocolate. So, dia ada 3 flavor lah. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate and white chocolate.
How many percent chocolate?
70%. 70% chocolate because I pakai barrel chocolate. Kalau top cocoa 90% chocolate and lain tu dia pakai susu lah. So ni persijilan yang kita ada tapi ni tak masuk lagi untuk persijilan halal mesti dan buatan Malaysia lah. Sebab kita baru dapat. Misal belum update lagi. So ni antara beberapa ni grant. Ini program yang kita dah sertai persijilan dia. So kita ada masuk beberapa event daripada Madi, Pharma dan juga Kuskop. So ni dana yang kita dapat. So after kita selepas kita buat dekat rumah, kita masuk ke kilang ini kilang, kita dapat satu dana iaitu daripada Dome. So Dome ni memberi impak yang besar sebab Sarah dapat mesin packaging dan Madi bagi dana packaging. So Dome bagi machine. So kita dapat produce, Sarah dapat packaging 148,000 pieces free grant dan machine Sarah dapat 26,000 harga. So dapat machine lah, dapat machine kita dapat produce. So ke mana produk kita tu nak pergi untuk size mini pack tu adalah untuk GP, generate area lah part. So kalau yang kotak pula pada event dan export sebab dia menggunakan shelf yang sangat sikit sebab dia boleh double. Kalau macam dulu kenapa kita daripada pouch bukan kotak sebab pouch tak boleh stack dan tak boleh lapik lah. So kita dapat kurangkan kos untuk shelf.
Customer service. Talk about your goals and objectives.
So goal Sarah dah capai ni target yang 2024. So 2025 dapat selesaikan sales daripada dulu kita dapat 50 ke 60,000 sahaja sebulan untuk raya. Kita dapat bulan yang seterusnya bulan ke 2024 kita dapat naikkan lagi 150,000 sales setahun. Kalau dulu sebulan sekali je kita buat production and sekali je kita main event. Tapi after 2025 kita dah join banyak program and mission yang kita dapat increase that sales tu lah. So 150,000 dan my target 2026 ni adalah 200 ke 300,000 tapi tak million. Soon.
Okay, next.
So ni tempat pemprosesan di kilang. Nah ini bahagian production area. Ini packaging area. Ini packaging area di production. Ini machine packaging yang kita dah dapat. So ini adalah orang yang akan handle. So ini adalah kotak penyimpanan. Ini adalah volume. So kita bukan main satu segmen. Dan banyak segmen untuk produk yang kita akan keluarkan pada produk yang kelas kita punya sizing lah. So maknanya kita juga buat dog gift dan daripada packaging ni juga kita ambil untuk outsource kalau orang nak packing dia punya produk which is dia tak perlu ada machine, kita ada service. Dan area kita ni juga dapat himpunkan semua student untuk protect dan untuk belajar cara proses tu yang betul. Kerana kita ada setiap area dia berbeza-beza lah. Ada packaging, ada production, melting, scooping. Okay. So ini di bawah Pharma, Marketing, ini sama dan di bawah ini agensi yang sangat terus serta. Okay, next. So ini dia yang saya lakukan. So ini setiap diri kita. So Sarah berjaya habiskan satu program 2024. Dapat
Macam overhead sekolah tu apa?
Overhead.
Overhead sekolah tu.
OPEX.
Fax dalam
Ambil gaji lah. Founders.
Ada founder lah.
Dia dapat RM1 dia bagi sikit. Like Elon Musk.
20 masuk sewa.
Everything lah. Fixed cost. Okay?
Mesin yang packaging dana tu dapat. Dia dapat kasih.
So ini packaging yang saya dapat 148,000 pieces. So untuk target kita adalah kita nak catatkan nanti orang yang kita order. Jadi ini yang saya dapat paperwork dan packaging tu dah dibuat research sebelum kita minta grant tersebut daripada rumah. So ini adalah saya punya summary. Ini saya.
Okay. Next.
Yang ini open mini launch untuk packaging yang akan supply pada usahawan. Jadi saya buat take initiative ni untuk buat dekat short-term event. So kita buat open mini launch packaging.
Atas sekolah lah.
Automated packaging.
So ni yang saya bagi tahu tadi. So satu program ni boleh buat 3-4 pieces. So kita kena beli 12 profile. So kalau ada saya in case diorang minta kita pack kita akan fokus ambil yang next. Jenis produk yang so ni design baru. Kalau design lama tak ada bag. So design baru kita nampak kadang-kadang suka bag. So bila kita pergi event kita nampak, so kita tukar. So kita bukan sekadar shop sendiri untuk packaging konsisten dengan apa yang ada, tak. Tapi kita akan ambil data tu daripada customer dan tengok siapa customer target segmen yang betul.
Okay. Product that test. Okay. Next. Production of life.
Dia punya shelf life adalah setahun. So yang tadi tu slide tadi. So tadi. Ni kita collect sikit. Ni jangan baca salah. So ni punya oli. Air cherry oli. So kita ada buat collect sikit untuk R&D dia punya produk dan kami insyaAllah korang akan
Produk baru untuk syarikat.
So ni antara biji amumat yang kita dah bagi untuk propose kita punya produk sebelum keluar. Ini mock-up yang saya buat pakai tangan. Maknanya produk yang packaging tu kita buat pakai tangan dulu. Kita ambil mock-up dalam 100 lebih, kita seal sendiri, kita potong sendiri. So kita buat the real produk dan cuba execution untuk propose. Ini adalah packaging lama lah. Ini adalah packaging lama. So kita tukar kepada produk. Okay. So ini pula my name. So kita dapat outright returnable dengan SD bersama dengan my paper sama dan juga Aeon. So ini adalah teknik yang kita deal. So kita dapat semua outlet tapi kita tak dapat supply sebab tak cukup invest.
Okay. Next.
So ini adalah email yang kami dah supply.
Right. Next.
Ini adalah saya punya social media tak tinggi sebab kami bukanlah produk baik.
Okay.
Thank you.
Some comments. Other comments? Okay. Okay. Can you go back to the slide?
Okay. The first thing.
Yeah. Okay. I know you're very proud of your building, but the building does not make any sense to the investor. You should be putting your products. Because this building, if the legal, it works, it will dispose.
Sewa berapa?
2,300.
This is where
Dia punya
Oh, hanya kat commission.
doktor lah, dia punya shift atas kalau
wait. Next slide. Okay. So this one is the first thing. What first thing you want people to see should be your product. Because I'm already like, why is the building? What's so special about the building? Apa yang nak
macam dia lah mengaku.
to own the building?
Dia macam first goal yang saya dapat capai untuk saya present. Kalau kata selepas ni maybe boleh tukar lah. So this is first time kita dapat achieve target untuk keluar daripada kumpul daripada
Rumah. Okay. So this one you can put in some slides, but not the first slide. Okay. This is, I think this is good, but not the information that the investor want to see. Okay, you go back to the slide.
It's like a profile.
Yeah, this is more like if you pitch to hypermarket, is for your customer. Yeah, but the investors will probably, okay. So normally we are not concerned where your HQ is, where's your email address, because kalau you nak buat pitching, I'm telling you can use this, but change it. Okay. But this is good if you are using it for your customers, right? Bank account. Nak bagi BC but
semua sama dah tahu.
Okay, this one is good.
This one ada gambar depan.
Yeah, but this is purposely blur, kan? Yeah, purposely blur, kan? Or the not high res. Purposely blur. So this about us, right? When you explain, maybe to help the VCs yang actually matter, you highlight some of the keywords. So when you present, you takkan baca if about us, right? But since this is sort of like a deck for the potential buyer, so boleh lah. Okay, next. Okay, founder team. Okay, these certificates, what you for the again for VCs, this one tak payah. But what you can do is going next. This one. You said you explained a lot about dapat usahawan madani blah blah blah, because from that grant will help you to do this. What you can do is you summarize all the grant or whatever yang you dapat, how it helped you to in your business, packaging, research, yang machine tu. You can just summarize for us to see from this agency you dapat ni. This is you guna untuk whatever. This is for VC. When we invest, kita akan tanya use of funds. Kalau I nak invest, I cakap, use of fund, you nak beli apa? Alat, the machine ke? You nak rent a bigger space ke? You nak increase headcount ke? Like and that. Sekarang dulu dia kata, you hire a social media person. Sekarang your social media tak berapa kuat lagi. You hire, then they pay 70% of the gaji. Right? So you can summarize in one table how you use your fund. So we can see that you actually use your fund in a productive manner. Some people ambil fund tapi tak guna. A lot of people just go and do something else. That's also what I think the brand owner nak tengok. You use the fund correctly. When you dapat the jana for the machine, your production increase. If you can say that, that's best. So your first column, what you have gotten, this certificate, you dapat this one, to dapat, and then what has it helped you? Because the certificate, if it doesn't help you in anything, it's just another certificate. To get more certificate means you have to spend time to attend all this. Like I said, it doesn't help your business in whatever way, right? That's Okay, value is very personal. When we deep dive into customer service, I'll ask you, how do you respond to customer inquiry, crisis management? For example, if someone makan already, dia kata, sakit perut. How do you respond to it? You delete dia punya comment, dia tak Facebook. Sorry, quality tu is very high. You know, if let's say customer service kita, sekarang kita punya response rate is 80%. We aim to increase it to 90%. The response rate. Okay, the quality currently, you know, is the barrel punya quality chocolate, the raw materials of this, kita aspire to increase it. So it must be something measurable. Kalau kita kata, I'm the best, you complete the best within what client value, Malaysia ke the world, right? So of course, collaboration, innovation is something that I have a lot to think about. Next. Okay, this one. Because you can use this to explain. Boost customer loyalty by offering best products, respecting feedback, providing excellent post-purchase support. If I ask, how do you provide excellent post-purchase support?
Kenapa dia nak letak benda ni dalam your company profile? Even company profile, kenapa dia letak?
Nak meyakinkan semua.
I think kita tak begitu measure.
Itulah sebab tu.
Macam this is macam kita our first profile and then kita ambil contoh ni, ambil dia tu ada orang minta cepat tu.
Okay, never mind.
Company profile yang kita buat.
Okay, lepas ni boleh balik buka. Dia tanya financial gain is quite obvious kan? Why are you in business? Definitely want to increase your revenue. Takkan lain in business or increase my revenue. So, but I think it's good try. At least you know where you can improve. Kalau you blank slide, I can't even comment, right?
Okay lah, at least di tempat orang nampak banyak.
Okay, this is something I want to comment. While pictures is 1,000 words, but it's great area for me. If I do not know manufacturing, what I'm concerned is not about the picture. I know this, but is it first, second, third, fourth, or first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? If you can tell me your manufacturing process, again, this one is maybe not you have one slide. Your slide must tell the maximum story. So this one, if you can simplify as your raw ingredient also, what is the process flow?
Yang ini pula, ini kita nak tunjuk ruang dia saja. Untuk proses tu, catatan itu semua ada dalam SOP. So itu adalah deep conversation antara kita dengan kita punya investor. Lepas ni kita ada dapat investor. So apa? Dapat.
What's your investor vision? Tak payah vision. Investor tu.
Kita dapat investor, kita dapat 2 investor daripada ada satu syarikat ni. So dia bagi kita, dia invest itu, dia yakin dengan kita punya sales tu boleh increase dan dia letak satu target untuk kita dapat. So tapi sepanjang kami duduk dengan dia kenal kami memang daripada home base. Daripada home base boleh pergi kilang and boleh increase that sales, so dia berani invest, tapi amount tak besar lah, dalam 20,000 je.
You want to invest? You're going to check now.
20,000 je.
How much equity are you giving him or her? You bagi berapa persen of your company?
Tapi masa ni kita kena sekian sikit lah. Kalau kita tak try, kita tak tahu. So, I baru first time dapat investor, then dia bagi I 20,000 awal bulan 1 tahun lepas, tahun lepas, I kena bayar balik dekat dia bulan 3 tambah lagi 10,000. Mana I kena bayar 30,000.
Yang investor lah, yang itu alung lah.
Dia masa bukan alur, dia biasa kan?
Tapi kita berjaya lah bayar dua investor tu tak satu investor lain. Sebab kita percaya kita buat sale. Sebab my target untuk macam daily adalah produk worth lah. Tapi kalau yang raya punya adalah kuih raya. So kita juga kuih raya saja. Oh gitu. So
Okay, all right. So I think later I will send the pitch deck punya template all of you, so you can follow. But you don't have to like macam rigid follow lah. You know, agak what is important based on what you already done, right? So but good try, definitely good try. Last one.
Sorry, so jika ada dapat memang dia tak dapat. Okay lah, so terima kasih kerana dia nak tahu pasal saya dan produk. Okay lah, so saya Muhammad just call me Hadi. So nama saya langsung pada Accreditation. So company kita mula bekerja pada 2015 dan 2015 Januari 2015 tapi asalnya kita ada syarikat pengadaan. So that's why nama dia adalah trading. Tapi ada beberapa masalah seperti yang mungkin kurang ilmu. Okay, right. So pada 2015 kita berubah kepada sebagai pengeluar Mekah dan pengadaan buat sekarang ini masih lagi pengadaan secara disiplin. Dan company kita pada 2015 kita mula produksikan produk jenis makanan ringan, snack. Kalau kita tengok kita traffic kepada dan satu bagi saya adalah satu era baru yang kita bawa semua snack keluar daripada Malaysia sendiri kali semua kisah yang dari so jadi asalnya macam mana yang kita dapat ni adalah daripada untuk yang founder solution untuk bagi so 2016 era pengaruh karya dan ramai dan banyak. Benda itu yang membuatkan seterusnya idea untuk penghasilan produk kepada daripada asalnya kita hanya satu level saja visa original. Kemudian sehingga orang kata untuk tambah lebih nilai dan untuk kita capai pendapatan yang lebih tinggi untuk syarikat, kita keluarkan beberapa pilihan rekrut untuk pelanggan juga lah. Ya. Antara ini yang kita bangunkan pada 78,000 suatannya bisa kami bisa nasi sambal nasi lemak black pepper macam-macam. So semua yang question boleh tengok apa. Okay, so okay, mungkin boleh fikirkan. Terima kasih kepada coach yang bagi cadangan. Okay. So 7-8 flavor yang kita buat tu 3 freezer iaitu keju, strawberry, keju, spicy dan original plastik yang paling mendapat perhatian masyarakat. Yang ini kita bawa dalam dan luar negara untuk pasaran paling mendapat perhatian. Okay. So dan kita ada satu flavor yang boleh dikatakan sebagai signature. Dan ini adalah satu produk kita yang boleh kita buat innovation yang kita pernah mula buat pada 2022-2023. So saya tak ingat sebab kita ada selang. Okay. Melalui Kongres Parti, Innovation Party tentang hari waktu. iaitu bisnes strawberry, dan satu-satunya satu kalangan pasien yang dekat. Dan yang itu punya flavor strawberry ini memang kita fokus kepada certain market dan limited production. Dan antara satu SKU yang paling mahal, paling susah dan paling jabak, so kita mengambil masa 5 tahun untuk bangunkan daripada strawberry. Dan alhamdulillah sekarang kita dapat harapan yang mengatakan kita formulasi untuk flavor strawberry ni diiktiraf kita. So maknanya kita dah boleh keluarkan formulasi sendiri. Dan kita boleh jual formula itu kepada market lah untuk buat supply pizza strawberry. Tengok ada yang menarik. So, kalau tuan-tuan tengok dapat ini adalah yang kita punya segment popular size yang ada di pasaran community store dan bermula pada 2000 kita cuba nak cater market yang berbeza sikit. So antara itu item kecil lah market besar. So yang bukan orang kata apa tumpuan untuk orang mencari snacks mata-mata. So you know, so bila kata roti ni orang akan dari barang asal. So macam kita nak cuba masuk kita untuk pergi segmen yang sama. Dan kita cuba follow the market, size-nya ada dengan size yang kita. So kita cuba tinggal size dan untuk sebagai pizza. Dan pagi tadi kita baru dapat setelah hampir 6 bulan perbincangan, kita dapat daripada satu syarikat teks penjambahan dalam Islam. So satu company ni dia yang menginovasikan satu bukan inovasi lah, dia membawa satu produk ke satu segmen market ni dah sama, tetapi mengikut pada era digital AI. Saya pergi ini pada beberapa bulan lepas dia menggunakan pasaran melalui teknologi AI dan kata bilik digital. Kalau kata istilah kampung dalam bilik mesti gerak. Kalau dulu memang digerak, tapi sekarang saya rasa dah tak gerak lah. Dia pakai bilik. So saya tengok memang teknologi, dia pakai teknologi AI sebenarnya. So siap kalau kita nak stream apa semua dibagi. Dan itu adalah satu statement yang khusus yang kita bagi sebab saya rasa sesuai dengan situasi bisnes makanan yang boleh disantap untuk mengisi masyarakat untuk macam kita spray. So satu-satu ini spray dia boleh makan. So ataupun you nak yang semua dalam spray itu boleh makan. Lain dari itu. Dan kita baru lepas persetujuan bersama cuma ada persetujuan bersama lah untuk bersama kita bukan daripada satu standpoint untuk masuk kita market vending machine, tapi dia punya memang up to date lah. So dia ada teknologi AI nya memang cashless. So bagi saya satu pasaran yang berbeza yang mudah untuk customer dapat, dan bagi saya kita tak meraihkan kemenangan yang tinggi untuk market ni, tetapi yang kita dapat adalah brand. So bagi orang nampak aktiviti brand engineering luaran boleh ada. So sekaligus untuk memfokuskan pasaran kita menjadi agak fokus pengeluar CV Malaysia nombor 1.
Ya, okey nak cakap begitu ya.
Terima kasih Mas Yano.
Tadi dia dah cakap, dalam cakap berhenti. You agree with what you said? Anything we say? How do you manage to articulate what you have in mind as a founder?
Okay, komen lah. Okay, I design.
It's important when you are a big company, your vision as a founder, your team must articulate. You cannot change the cerita. So it has to be the same voice, kan? If he say this is the best CV, then everybody has to say the same thing. I think it's okay CV, but he says it's the best. So as your founder, the typical is from you. It's yours, right? Although you're a co-founder, but if you think you don't have to reply me, but you can reach out at home. Is there anything that you feel you want to add? Is there anything missing? But it's important.
First thing saya
Ada second thing.
actually saya kami dia. Saya memang founder, saya banyak idea. Kita orang ada go and cross. Saya dalam buat fixing memang saya masih dengan awak. That's why dia yang fixing. Saya boleh bagi idea. So akan kita saya memang satu lagi saya dalam kita bisnes policy kita kena faham antara satu sama lain. So first thing kita kena berdoa langsung. Satu itu. Kadang-kadang memang apa kita mesti lagi tahu sini tapi dari kadang-kadang kita orang ada juga lah satu masa kita pendapat lain. Tapi saya akan ambil okay pot betul juga.
Saya bukan juga saya jamaah mungkin bagai saya so teman-teman pun kita berapa apa itu orang profesional sampai kita tengok kita berjumpa macam kita tengok ada mungkin kita hari ini lebih pada so jangan saya juga saya idea untuk saya motivasi saya apa yang perlu buat aku tadi so saya tak nak aku so bagi saya kau yang memilih dari bisnes ini kan dalam proses tekan dengan dia mungkin dekat kombinasi awal itu bisnes saya ingin membuatkan macam saya kata orang lain mungkin saya tahu mungkin orang lain sahabat lain kata awal lain apa financial filter tapi saya paling lain memang dah sudah faham lah maksud kau punya ego tu tidak jannah lah.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you for your presence today. I hope apa yang kita bincang it's not right or wrong. It's just a guidance, and from the investor's perspective, we're giving you some kind of tips, so that you know what is to be expected. Macam exam, you study the question yang akan ditanya, then you prepare for it, right? So it may be hard right now, especially if you masuk all the data, but if you do the hard things first, your life will be easier. So I hope we really take this not as just one-time project. It has to be a live pitch plan. It's gonna alive. Your business plan needs to be alive. Jangan guna data yang lama-lama. So somebody's job is to keep updating it because especially your milestones, your traction. Let's say you say your social media, because right now your e-commerce business, social media, eyeball, semua is important. So you need to show month-on-month growth, year-on-year growth. That is very important to the business.
Kalau kita nak berada kita minta peningkatan target 3 tahun belakang atau boleh 5 tahun belakang.
Sampai standard tu tadi kan.
If you get justified, how do you derive the number from 5 years? You boleh dah justify. If you say 5 years, you nak dapat 5 million. I will ask you how to break down the 5 million. So in 1 year, you get 1 million. In 12 months, you get what? 100,000 every month.
Bukan dalam masa ni kita buktikan yang sebelum ni kita macam mana kita ada report sejarah untuk 3 tahun belakang. Tahun ni kita kata macam ni. Tahun ni 3 tahun ni dan tahun kita akan cuba capai. So the momentum. So boleh tak antara 3 tahun belakang ataupun 5 tahun belakang yang lebih baik untuk yang tinggal objektif. Bagi tu nampak sejarah ni dah 3 tahun.
Sejarah is not sejarah is good. That means you can show what you have done. Tapi in future it depends on many things kan. Kalau you tak dapat duit, your future maybe ikut sejarah macam ni organic. Tapi tiba-tiba 3 years ago you tak dapat duit sendiri, so you slowly. Tapi, oh, this the 4th year, I dapat duit hidayat admission, so your projection mungkin macam ni, optimistic, akan jadi organic. So it depends on what happens. Suddenly your demand, semua orang kata, oh, seaweed will cure whatever, semua orang boleh ke seaweed.
Okay.